Chapter 23:13. Suddenly, a fiery gaze flashed across Su Yi's eyes. He exerted strength in his feet and stomped on the void. Violent flames immediately surged out and flew into the valley. Boom! The storm was like a blade, stirring up layers of ripples in the fiery wind. The Origin Supreme technique was activated. Majestic demonic aura once again shrouded Su Yi. When he reached the Red Cloud Valley, Su Yi's lips curled slightly. With a step, circular ripples appeared and a figure flashed into it. Red Cloud Valley. His figure flashed like lightning, leaving countless afterimages in the air. He entered the valley like a butterfly flying through flowers. In the valley, compared to the red clouds outside the valley, the energy of heaven and earth was more vigorous because of the floating red crystal. Looking carefully at the myriad heaven's divine clouds, the tall red crystal hung in the sky. The scarlet-red ripples swept across heaven and earth. Terrifying blazing energy immediately pressed down on Su Yi. Boom! The heavenly dragon bone withstood the pressure. Su Yi's eyes couldn't help but turn fiery. Sliding down the valley, Su Yi charged to the center of the valley while bearing the heavy pressure. 1. As soon as he landed, the fiery energy storm between heaven and earth swept out. Red clouds intertwined, and a majestic heavenly aura filled the sky. The stars also erupted with a vast aura of destruction, causing one's heart to tremble. Secretly forming a hand seal, Su Yi felt a chill spreading from the bottom of his heart. He raised his eyes and looked at the sky. Su Yi instantly felt his heartbeat quicken. Above the sky, a scarlet demonic beast that was comparable to Tuntun's size charged out. From its appearance, its fire scales were open and its eyes contained heavenly divine flames. Its long hair was like a flaming whip, striking between heaven and earth. Its divine aura was awe-inspiring, like an ancient volcano erupting. Although the one outside looks very similar to this one, it's much smaller. Su Yi's heart throbbed. He stared at the fire-scaled demonic beast in the sky and muttered in his heart, "Oh my God!" Qi Feihong stood within the heavenly origin demon soul. His frail body began to sway uncontrollably. His eyes were filled with shock. This demonic beast that could shake the heavens and earth was truly moving. Looking at the fire in the sky from afar, Su Yi immediately felt as if his chest was blocked. He asked with a burning gaze, "Uncle Hong, what did you find?" "Extreme fire-scaled heavenly beast. Quick, take a look and see what level his cultivation has reached." Qi Feihong's dry lips trembled as his gaze focused. Hearing this, Su Yi's heart instantly sank. The demon-subduing illusory canon had no records of this extreme fire-scaled sky beast. In terms of cultivation, the demonic beast in front of him was comparable to the blood-red brilliant dragon in the Broken Sword Sea. Suddenly, Su Yi took a deep breath. Fortunately, this extreme fire-scaled sky beast didn't seem to have any malice towards him. He immediately said, "Junior greets Senior." Looking at the respectful Su Yi, the extreme fire-scaled sky beast's vigorous voice filled the sky. Monstrous demonic chi swept across the sky. "Very good. The person that Little Scale brought back indeed has some charm." Little Scale? Hearing this name, Su Yi's heart suddenly shook. Then, he was quickly interrupted by the extreme fire-scaled sky beast's voice. "For tens of thousands of years, this sea of fire was all because of me. You're the first human to reach this place. You've made me wait for a long time." The extreme fire-scaled sky beast's voice was monstrous. Fire patterns were entwined in its terrifying divine eyes, making people unable to look straight at it. Hearing this, Su Yi's heart suddenly jumped. The sacred sea of flames was actually formed because of the extreme fire-scaled sky beast? What is this demon race sovereign trying to say by telling me this? There seems to be an aristocratic family above my sea of flames, right? Back then, they fought against others for the heaven-suppressing metal stone. They didn't know that the real treasure was right under their feet. I've waited for tens of thousands of years, but no one has been able to go deep into this place. I was born because of this secret treasure, so I naturally have to protect it and let it find its next master." Above the sky, the extreme fire-scaled sky beast's voice slowly came. Its huge eyes surged with infinite expectation as it looked at Su-Yi majestically. Roar. As soon as its voice fell, the extreme fire-scaled sky beast opened its arms high in the sky. Its blazing aura dyed the surrounding space even redder. The ferocious roar of the beast resounded through the center of heaven and earth, and the red mist space instantly trembled. What happened? Qi Feihong's eyes were burning. Looking at this majestic pressure, his thin body began to tremble. Under the huge heavenly pressure, the extreme fire-scaled sky beast's half-step Yuan Tian realm instantly began to shrink. With a roar, the extreme fire-scaled sky beast opened its eyes. Two red lights swept out, and its huge pupils were like divine fire lanterns. Flames flashed out. Suddenly, the entire valley trembled. Loud sounds exploded from the extreme fire-scaled sky beast's body in succession. A terrifying and huge flame instantly swept out like a storm. Space ripples swept out, and the extreme fire-scaled sky beast that was like a courtyard gradually faded into a shadow. Accompanied by the fierce movement, all the divine clouds and red mist between heaven and earth gathered into one, and countless red star fragments gathered together for no reason at this moment. Ding! Ding! In the divine cloud storm, countless red fragments began to gather crazily above his head. A blazing and terrifying force cut through the sky, spreading out a red glow in the extreme space. This is... Su-Yi's heart trembled violently, and he was so stunned that he couldn't say a word. Hearing the crisp sound and seeing the strange changes in the surrounding space, a huge divine fire crystal was constantly forming in the center of the storm. At this moment, Su-Yi felt that everything in front of him began to solidify, and circles of strange space cracks suddenly rippled around Su-Yi's body. Narrowing his eyes, he stared at the strange changes in the sky. Su-Yi's primordial chaos ancient bell, and the water heaven-suppressing stone above the spirit pool also seemed to be summoned and rushed out from his body. It was also at this moment that a majestic and ferocious demonic aura roared from the heavenly origin demonic soul. The strange changes in his body made Su-Yi sweat profusely. He suddenly clenched his right fist, and his yuan qi surged out. Terrifying flames roared out from every pore of his body. The crimson demonic aura shot into the sky and collided with the divine fire crystal in the center with astonishing power. In the next moment, the divine fire crystal began to rapidly form, and with a high-pitched sonic boom, a rain of divine fire swept through the sky. Chi! Chi! The torrential rain of fire poured down, and the valley began to shake. Huge cracks spread out from the surface of the valley. It can resonate with the treasure. Is this human really its master? The extreme fire-scaled sky beast's eyes trembled. At this moment it was completely shocked. Its voice was filled with unparalleled shock, and its eyes were constantly looking at the dense fire attribute energy rapidly condensing in front of it. Chapter 23:14. In just a few moments, the terrifying fire attribute energy caused the surrounding space to fluctuate violently. When everything stopped and the wind stopped, Su-Yi's skin had turned crimson red and translucent like a god. At this moment, he was hunched over with his hands on his knees, panting heavily. His back was drenched in sweat, and sparkling beads of sweat flew freely from his forehead. In the vacuum of space, they instantly turned into steam and dissipated. Among everyone present, only Qi Feihong knew how much energy Su-Yi's body was currently consuming. The energy in the great void deep sea and the profound spirit fire crystal was suddenly close to exhaustion. One must know that Su-Yi had just swallowed the spiritual liquid outside the valley. The energy consumption could be said to be abnormal. Huff! The entire place was silent. The fire crystal in the sky slowly rotated, and the roaring sound of the explosion had stopped. When Sui raised his head, the golden red light in his eyes was accompanied by endless surprise, and an arc appeared at the corner of his mouth. Fire heaven-suppressing stone, I've finally found you. Sui smiled faintly. Sui stood up with difficulty, and the heavy pressure on his chest made it difficult for him to breathe. Looking at the fire crystal in the sky, which was almost identical to the water heaven-suppressing stone except for its color, Sui was already wild with joy. Human, do you know what this is? The fire-scaled heavenly beast's voice slowly came from the depths of the sky. He could feel that the fire-scaled heavenly beast's aura, which had already faded into a shadow, had decreased significantly compared to before. Summoning the fire heaven-suppressing stone had also consumed a lot of its energy. Immediately, Sui slowly wiped the sweat from his forehead and nodded at the fire-scaled heavenly beast. With a smile at the corner of his mouth, Sui's hands instantly gathered together, and a dazzling blue light burst forth from his hands. In the next instant, the strong light spread toward the fire heaven-suppressing stone like a spotlight. Even if it was only for a moment, the image of the water heaven-suppressing stone was enough to cover the divine cloud valley within a radius of a few hundred miles. The same crystal. It's blue. The fire-scaled heavenly beast's gaze was no longer calm. Fierce flames appeared in its eyes, and its aura also reached its peak in an instant. That's right. You said that I was fated with him. Senior, you might not know this, but I've been looking for him all this time. Suyi's voice slowly faded away. Chi La. Perhaps it was due to the fire-scaled extreme heavenly beast's soul, but the fire suppression heavenly stone gradually moved down and floated in front of Sui. Suddenly, the entire space shook for no reason. The extreme fire attribute was indescribably fierce. Even Qi Feihong's heart trembled violently. Little Scale did not choose the wrong person. The fire-scaled extreme heavenly beast's voice resounded once more. When it mentioned Little Scale's name, Sui could not help but look up half an inch. For tens of thousands of years I've been guarding this crystal. I've always wanted to explore its mysteries, but in the end I still couldn't find out. It wasn't until they arrived at this Earth Flame Island that the crystals seemed to glow with radiance. They evolved into a boundless sea of flames that burned fiercely for so many years. Now I'm getting weaker by the day, and I still can't understand its mysteries. I just want to find someone who can control it and help me unravel the secrets of this crystal. After pausing for a moment, the fire-scaled extreme heavenly beast's huge figure in the sky trembled slightly. Its eyes began to tremble as it said in a low voice, "Even after exhausting my entire life, I was only able to leave an extremely small fragment of the crystal in the sky above this sea of flames. I thought that whoever could obtain this fragment would definitely be the fated one." At this point, the fire-scaled extreme heavenly beast's eyes were filled with love, and its gaze also became somewhat helpless. I didn't expect that it would actually be a little fellow of mine. However, this fellow of mine is a little strange. He's even injured. I helped him heal his injuries, but he began to go berserk because he was trying to refine this crystal. Helpless, I could only bring him out. I let him gradually digest this terrifying energy in the sea of flames. Gulp. His throat rolled. It turned out that the fire-scaled extreme heavenly beast was also outside. This was the origin of that demonic beast. Before I left, Little Scale, who still had a trace of rationality, promised me that it would find my true master. I didn't expect it to be so fast. You're here. The fire-scaled extreme heavenly beast smiled with gratification. Blazing energy enveloped heaven and earth. Accompanied by an enormous spatial energy, the divine Dawn Valley began to surge again. My mission has finally come to an end. Human, refine him. Let the divine crystal do its job. The fire-scaled extreme heavenly beast looked expectantly at Sui, who was protected by divine light. Terrifying flames immediately erupted from the fire-scaled extreme heavenly beast's eyes. Energy swept across heaven and earth, and a ferocious pressure urged the fire crystal to continuously approach Su-yi. Standing in the middle of the valley, the scalding storm blew Su-yi's clothes high into the air. Increasingly violent energy sonic booms resounded throughout heaven and earth. Compared to the gentle water heaven-suppressing stone, Su-yi didn't have the slightest confidence that he could successfully refine the violent fire heaven-suppressing stone. This was especially so when the energy was exhausted. Su-yi's heart began to pound. Did he have to refine it so quickly? What are you still hesitating for, human? Red radiance instantly erupted in the sky, and circles of pitch-black spatial cracks appeared in the sky. Looking up at the dome of heaven, thousands of fire-patterned energy ribbons converged above his head. Arcs of light enveloped him, and scarlet radiance spread all over the sky. This was the fire-scaled extreme heavenly beast holding the fort for him. The fire-scaled extreme heavenly beast had been waiting for tens of thousands of years, and the answer had finally arrived. Looking at the primordial chaos ancient bell slowly revolving in his body, a faint primordial divine radiance illuminated his sea of consciousness. Refining the fire heaven-suppressing stone was also a necessary path for him to find his memories. The primordial chaos demon emperor, the earth, water, wind, and fire heaven-suppressing stones had to be gathered. Suddenly, Su-yi seemed to hear Little Scale's roars from extremely far away. Little Scale's body was drenched in blood, and its shrill cries urged him to go forward. To Little Scale, he was also its hope. Damn it, if it comes, then let it come. Even if I die, I can't be looked down upon. This opportunity couldn't be missed. If he missed it, there wouldn't be another opportunity like this. Su-yi knew that he wouldn't be able to encounter the fire heaven-suppressing stone so peacefully every time, and that the fire-scaled extreme heavenly beast wouldn't hold the fort for him every time. Immediately, Su-yi took out a jug-shaped container from the primordial chaos ancient bell. It was filled with the freshest spiritual liquid. If he didn't drink it now, when would he? Kid, go all out. For the first time, Chi Feihong encouraged Su-yi to go all out. Chi Feihong also knew that this was a rare opportunity. Ha ha! Su-yi raised his head and laughed heartily. His shocked heartbeat instantly amplified. With a resolute expression, Su-yi raised the jug and drank all the spiritual liquid in it in one gulp. Wiping the wet corners of his mouth, Su-yi, who was in the midst of the firestorm, was incomparably wild and charming. The sinister smile on his face was extremely similar to the primordial chaos demon emperor that had shaken the realm of the gods back then. I'll be taking the fire heaven-suppressing stone. Clasping his hands together, his green robes fluttering in the wind, Su-yi was shrouded in light within the violent firestorm, like a miracle. Chapter 23:15. Suddenly Chi Feihong and the fire-scale sky beast's eyes trembled. They could feel the rapid changes in the air around Su-yi's body at any time. They were terrified. Rumble! Surrounded by the flames, Su-yi clasped his hands together as boundless energy mixed with ferocious wind blasted out. Suddenly, the monstrous energy transformed from the spirit liquid in his body that wasn't too wide and thick instantly surged into the wilderness. Brat! Chi Feihong's eyes trembled. He was so excited that his lips trembled. In Su-yi's heavenly origin demon soul, Chi Feihong could clearly feel that Su-yi's 24 profound entrances were all opened. Boundless energy was wreaking havoc. The stars surged, and the Milky Way hung upside down above his head. The mountains, rivers, and universe were all subdued. Such a huge amount of energy was unheard of and unseen. At this moment, Su-yi's meridians were as if fresh juice was drawn out from a squeezed vine. It was hard to imagine what kind of terrifying test Su-yi was going through right now. Ha! Bang bang! A series of sonic booms resounded around Su Yi's body. The series of sounds was like a huge bomb hovering in the air. Following that, Su Yi's aura became more and more majestic. The aura that was crazily gathering suddenly rose. This kind of spectacle made the fire-scale sky beast's eyes tremble. His eyes were like blood and his skin was golden. Su Yi took steady steps and walked to the front of the fire-suppressing heaven stone with determination. The violent energy flow revolved crazily in front of Su Yi. He slowly stretched out his hands and swept towards the fire-suppressing heaven stone. He spread his arms in the air. They were sparkling and translucent, flowing with a strange radiance. They were like jade, making people drool. He faintly glanced at Su Yi, who was frowning with both hands. The corner of his mouth slightly hooked up. A sinister smile made people feel cold for no reason. Since he had already made up his mind, he must succeed in one go. The fire-suppressing heaven stone must be obtained. Come! Su Yi roared in his heart. He raised his head and glanced at the fire-scale heavenly beast. The determination in his heart became even more certain. In an instant, Su Yi stomped heavily and his entire body sank down rapidly. His hands pushed out horizontally and stuck tightly to the fire-suppressing heaven stone. In the depths of his eyes, the fire-suppressing heaven stone's radiance rapidly spiraled, its radiance blazing and dazzling. The infinite energy contained within was enough to intoxicate any martial artist, causing them to go insane. But his hands slammed heavily on the fire-suppressing heaven's stone. The sparkling and translucent light seemed to have suffered a violent impact. Immediately, it surged wantonly. At first glance, the fire-suppressing heavenly stone looked like a flame spirit that had been bound. The flames that came out of the stone carried a great force as it tried to break free from Su Yi's embrace. Gg. An ear-piercing sound similar to the sound of high pressure resounded through the sky. In the blink of an eye, countless flaming rays of light drifted out from Su Yi's fingers. The light was like an arrow, shooting into the sky. The fiery light that shot out from high up in the air finally passed through the obstruction of the extreme fire-scaled sky beast and flew back to the ground. Bang! 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 The fiery light collided with the sky, causing a huge commotion. It caused the space to tremble incessantly as demonic energy surged. In the blink of an eye, the entire Red Cloud Valley became fiery. The quiet valley became a sea of fire in the blink of an eye. In the flames, a trace of a miserable scream surged into the sky. Crackle! Su Yi's hands were stuck on the fire-suppressing heaven's stone. His sparkling and translucent jade-like hands instantly cracked open. A large expanse of white mist evaporated out. Even so, Su Yi was still unwilling to let go. He gritted his teeth. Facing the extremely violent fire-suppressing heaven's stone, Su Yi's heavenly origin demon soul also shuddered. If it were anyone else who witnessed this showdown between a human and an extreme energy, their soul would probably tremble in fear. On the horizon, the extreme fire-scaled sky beast's gaze was shaken. The pressure and perseverance that erupted from this young human martial artist's body had already exceeded his imagination. Brat! Qi Feihong, who shared the same joys and sorrows as Su Yi, gulped. He couldn't bear it. The fire-suppressing heaven's stone's rebound had exceeded everyone's expectations. The little scale that the extreme fire-scaled sky beast had mentioned had only tried to refine it, but had been seriously injured. When it came to Su Yi, who was only at the origin ancestor realm, what kind of tragic outcome would it be? It was unimaginable. Inside the heavenly origin demon soul, Qi Feihong, who couldn't get over it for a long time, was fluctuating continuously. He looked at Su Yi's resolute face without any change in expression. Soon after, he laughed heartily. This old man is talking about youth. Brat, I've been timid all my life, but I never thought that I would be able to fight with you so heroically. F***ck off, let's conquer it together. As Chi Fei Hong's laughter circled back and forth in his ears, Su Yi, whose body was constantly twitching, also smiled. 3 cold words slowly came out from between his teeth. Conquer it. Compared to the water-suppressing Heaven Stone, the fire-suppressing Heaven Stone was like a berserk evil dragon. It spat out scarlet blood and swallowed everything that approached it into nothingness. If humans wanted to conquer it, they couldn't use brute force. They had to use talent and perseverance to grind it down. Just like an eagle, one had to be stronger and more durable than it to completely make it submit to one. Only then would one be in an invincible position. Chi. At that moment, the 2 hands that came into contact with each other suddenly exploded. Spiraling flames ran up from the 10 fingers, and a gale instantly tore apart the primordial chaos halo that enveloped Su Yi's body. Chi La. As if a layer of skin had been torn off, the golden light rushed out from Su Yi's body rapidly. As the waves of fire brushed against his face, Su Yi's pitch-black eyes trembled in astonishment. Next, an even more miserable roar came from the valley. Without the protection of the light membrane, Su Yi could only rely on his Yuanyang heavenly dragon bones physical body and Vajra physique to resist. Of course, there was also the demon god battlesuit that couldn't hold on for long. This was something that no cultivator could even think about. Could he succeed? A small question mark appeared in the minds of Chi Fei Hong and the fire-scaled extreme sky beast. A moment later, Su Yi's body trembled even more violently. One after another, the merciless waves of fire formed a terrifying spatial storm that crazily attacked Su Yi's chest. There's no time. If I don't hurry up, the consequences will be unimaginable. Su Yi tried his best to open his eyes and look at the fire suppression Heaven Stone. He shook his slightly dizzy head, and his eyes were filled with a golden red color. In an instant, Su Yi roared and an invisible hand seal condensed on his chest. He mobilized all his Yuan Qi and began to activate the primordial chaos supreme technique. Clang! Clang! In the blink of an eye, the ancient bell reappeared in the world. Under the astonished gaze of the fire-scaled extreme sky beast, the ancient bell with mysterious runes emitted a simple and desolate light. It descended from the sky and directly enveloped Su Yi and the fire suppression Heaven Stone. Chi. As if it had seen a mortal enemy, the fire suppression Heaven Stone's resistance became even fiercer as soon as the ancient bell appeared. On the fire suppression Heaven Stone, divine light poured down. 9 beams of fire rushed out and heavily struck the ancient bell. Immediately, a loud and clear sound of metal rang out. Clang! The bell rang for thousands of miles. A vast pressure descended like a desolate desolation. The vast ancient energy all gathered here. Chapter 23:16. Inside the ancient bell, Su Yi took a deep breath. His eyes were like lightning. Then, he curled his palms and began to pour the unparalleled strength in his body into the golden heaven-suppressing stone. The powerful force was completely released at that moment. Boom! Inside the bell, because of Su Yi's pressure, the fire heaven-suppressing stone resisted even more fiercely. The violent fire python swept out and the ancient bell shook. From the bell, the powerful force that leaked out shattered the void. However, it was completely disintegrated by the extreme fire-scale beast in an instant. Witnessing everything that happened in front of its eyes, the extreme fire-scale beast was already frightened. A faint voice slowly came from the sky. "Why is this human so strong? Little Scale, who is this person you're looking for?" Rumble. After a while, as expected, Su Yi's demon god battlesuit also began to crack into pieces. At the same time, Su Yi's aura had exploded to the extreme. A whole pot of spiritual liquid was completely digested in his body. Just as it was transferred into the great void divine sea, Su Yi once again urged it out with an even more terrifying force. Continue. Su-yi, who no longer cared, only had the fire heaven suppressing stone in his eyes and mind. Conquer it. Conquer it. Conquer it. He kept hypnotizing himself and kept adding energy to the fire heaven suppressing stone. Unconsciously, Su-yi roared again and the majestic origin supreme technique rolled out. When he could gradually feel the energy rules of the fire heaven suppressing stone, Su-yi smiled and mobilized the fire manifestation's soul. Using fire to drive fire. You're destined to be mine. You were mine in the previous life and you're still mine in this life. Su-yi shouted, and an even more majestic fire attribute primordial chi wrapped around the fire heaven suppressing stone. Chi-la. The fire heaven suppressing stone became still for a moment. The light stopped as if it was over. It also did not expect that at such a critical juncture, Su-yi would actually choose to use fire to contain fire, and not use the water heaven suppressing stone's 5 elements to subdue it. In fact, the reason was very simple. Among the heaven rank souls, Su-yi's water avatar was much weaker than his fire avatar. Even with the water heaven suppressing stone, Su-yi might not be able to unleash the full potential of the stone. Soon, the fire-suppressing heaven stone's radiance once again illuminated the sky. Like a baby who was mocked by others, he was stunned by the enemy's performance. He went from astonishment to shock to shame and anger, but soon after, he would show his anger by resisting even more violently. Looking from afar, inside the ancient bell, the 2 fireballs were evenly matched. Huge fluctuations erupted from the ancient bell, and a few more terrifying sounds spread out. Boom! The bell's radiance was overflowing and heaven and earth shook. This was the peak performance that a human martial artist could achieve. The beast soul of the fire-scaled sky beast was trembling non-stop. It couldn't be denied that Su-yi's performance had conquered it. Sizing up Su-yi, who was covered in flames, the fire-scaled sky beast trembled and said, "Human, whether you succeed or not, you have shown me the strongest human. The strongest in 10,000 years." And at the next moment, the fire-scaled sky beast was completely subdued by Su-yi's performance. Whoosh! Without the Chaos Origin halo and the demonic god battle armor, Su-yi's expression gradually turned sinister as he was being roasted by the high temperature. In a daze, a swift and violent dragon roar resounded throughout the world. Su-yi's entire body was covered in dragon runes. His elbows and limbs were covered in a golden radiance, exuding an impressive dragon's might. When the 2 fireballs were confronting each other, the images of the golden dragon and imperial sparrow appeared behind Su-yi. The golden dragon's 5 claws stirred up wind, and the imperial sparrow's divine flames rushed out. The 2 world-shaking energies gave Su-yi the last of his strength. It could be said that Su-yi had already used all his skills. He had to win this battle. Break! Su-yi roared furiously. Su-yi's eyes were filled with flames as he tried his best to control the loss of his soul energy. He clenched his teeth, and a terrifying fire-attributed energy erupted from somewhere in his body once again. Bang! The 2 flames collided. Qi Feihong and the fire-scaled sky beast looked in the direction of the sound. Sparkling red dots of light were suspended above the resplendent galaxy like stars. They were sparkling and had an astonishing aura. An origin ancestor human could actually persist to this extent. It was simply appalling. The fire-scaled sky beast's eyes trembled, and it wanted to prostrate itself. The golden dragon and imperial sparrow had appeared in a human's body at the same time. In the sky, the fire-scaled sky beast could no longer remain calm. "Awoo!" At this moment, an equally ferocious voice was heard from outside the valley. A smile appeared on the sky beast's anxious brows as it said, "Is Little Scale also worried that he won't succeed? You can't come in now." As soon as it said that, a trace of ruthlessness flashed across the corner of Su-yi's eyes. Using the power of a divine beast to resist the extreme natural energy wasn't a long-term solution after all. Soon, the illusory figure turned into specks of light and dissipated. Inside the ancient bell, the specks of light were dazzling and flickering incomparably. This time, Su-Yi was really using the power of his flesh to resist the terrifying fire-attributed energy. After cultivating the fire-attributed energy for so long, it was likely that he wouldn't be able to compete with flames to this extent again in the future. Chi-la-la. The diamond body suddenly sank together with the Yuanyang sky dragon bone. Su-Yi's legs seemed to be pressed down by a heavy mountain as they kept sinking. When both of his legs were about to sink into the ground, Su-Yi's flesh and blood started to emit terrifying flame patterns. Layer upon layer, they looked like blood-red dragon scales. It was extremely terrifying. Chi-chi. The crisp sound of blood vessels being stretched was incomparably shocking. In an instant, his muscles also swelled up. The flesh that wasn't considered thick at first seemed to be filled with air at this moment. It looked just like Wang Shangwu's. "Brat, are you really going to continue?" Qi Feihong, who was also exerting his full strength, was lying on the ground. His gaze began to wander. His dispirited and weak expression made people feel heartache for no reason. It could be seen that whether it was Qi Feihong or Su-Yi, they were about to reach the end of their rope. In his palm, the ferocious fire-attributed energy had already completely enveloped the fire suppression heavenstone. From afar, it looked like the tentacles of an octopus that wanted to swallow the entire fire suppression heavenstone. "I'm already here. I can't lose." Su-Yi's eyes were no longer black. In the golden light, one could see endless weakness. Even so, Su-Yi was still trying to completely comprehend the energy laws of the fire suppression heavenstone, just like refining the water suppression heavenstone. "I can't stop. I can't stop." It was like a kind of obsession, but also like a kind of self-transcendence and attempt. Su-Yi was still clenching his teeth and persevering. Looking at the dense and mysterious patterns that gradually spread out on the fire suppression heavenstone, the oppressive wind sound just now had begun to weaken. The corner of Su-Yi's mouth raised into a bitter smile. Suddenly, the fire-scaled sky beast's eyes moved. It had reached the critical moment. Looking at Su-Yi, the fire-scaled sky beast shouted angrily, "I'll help you!" Chapter 23:17. As soon as he finished speaking, the fire-scale sky beast descended from the sky and turned into an old man with fiery red hair, appearing behind Su-Yi. His eyes squinted and trembled. Even a 10,000-year elite like him would feel shocked by the vigorous fire energy in front of him. Roar! In the distance, the urgent beast roar sounded again. The fire-scale sky beast sized up Su-Yi and looked into the distance. Swoosh! After weighing the pros and cons, the fire-scale sky beast waved his withered palm and a fiery glow blasted into the sky. Immediately, the sky beast's eyes flickered and he roared. Terrifying demon energy surged from his body and poured into Su-Yi's body through the cracked primordial chaos ancient bell. This aura! Now that he was so close to Su-Yi, the fire-scale sky beast could feel the aura of the primordial chaos supreme technique around Su-Yi. Who else in the world could make a 10,000-year elite's beast soul agitated? Bang! A strong wind entered his body and a crisp sound echoed in Su-Yi's organs. Su-Yi's body quickly returned to its thin and weak state, but it was completely bloodless. His snow-white skin revealed a hint of sickness, which was a sign that his life was in danger. Waking up from his dizziness, Su-Yi endured the pain and looked at his body that was covered in fiery patterns. Countless pieces of flesh and blood rolled up like scales. The ghastly scene instantly woke Su-Yi up. Suddenly, the great void divine ocean sky beast's energy was filled again and the fiery energy in his hands surged. This was the last attempt. It was the fire-scale sky beast's last stand and also Su-Yi's last chance. In a short moment, the light cluster in the ancient bell became hotter and a strange clattering sound was heard. Clang! The ancient bell finally could not bear the burden and turned into a rain of light and dissipated. At this time, the space fluctuated again and the vast space began to distort. Ripples in the space rippled out. The last attack of the flame light collided with the dimming fire-suppressing heaven's stone, and the two enormous energies instantly collided together. Rumble! Within the space, a huge muffled sound quickly spread. Soon, the red cloud valley trembled, and a flame shockwave that could be seen with the naked eye directly cut the center of the valley. Boom! In less than a breath of time, the valley that seemed to have been cut vertically collapsed. In this unbearably hot space, even the valley had turned into ruins. Is it a success? Inside the demon soul of heaven origin, Chi Feihong spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground on the verge of death. He stared blankly at the violent fluctuations in the air before fainting. Still not successful? Standing behind Sui, all the energy gushed out like a flood. The extreme fire-scaled sky beast was already at the end of its rope, completely unaware of the changes in front of it. Hoo-hoo! And at this time, Sui was looking at the fire-suppressing heaven stone with his own eyes. The fire-suppressing heaven stone was no longer struggling, but the last remnant flame inside still refused to be extinguished. Will it still fail in the end? Suyi's lips twitched slightly. It wasn't just the fire-suppressing heaven stone. Suyi's injuries were also very tragic. He propped up his bloody palm. On his bloody palm, white bones could be seen, causing one's soul to tremble. What was even more terrifying was his torso and skin. Even with the protection of the diamond body, the Yuanyang sky dragon bone was completely exposed to the air. A large piece of flesh on his chest was burnt, and the air was filled with the terrifying smell of burnt flesh. It was extremely terrifying. Chi-chi. Inside his body, Su-yi's meridians slowly began to shrink, like vines that were curled up under high temperatures. In the great void deep sea, the profound spirit fire crystal had already ceased its activities, and the empty divine sea seemed to be that empty. Silence. Wind and waves slowly swept across his cheek. After the storm, everything in the world fell into tranquility. In the ruins of the valley where flames were swirling, Su-yi stood with one leg. His other leg was still deep in the soil. Every time he took a breath, large amounts of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. His two palms held onto the fire-suppressing heaven stone unyieldingly, and the fire-suppressing heaven stone was like the last warrior, shining with its last light. At this point, it was time to see who could last longer. Victory or defeat would be decided in this extra breath. No one wanted to lose. The fire-suppressing heaven stone would probably be puzzled as to how there could be such a tough human. It was fine if his cultivation was low, but he had to use the might of an origin ancestor to forcefully suppress it. Shoo! The last bit of yuan qi in his body flowed into his palm. The light around Su-yi's body dissipated completely. Looking at the light that wrapped around his fist, Su-yi's heart palpitated. Roar! Just as the words "accept your fate" descended on Su-yi's heart, a divine light shone in the distant sky. A black shadow that covered the heavens and the earth rapidly attacked. Su-yi could vaguely see a pair of ferocious blood-red eyes in his drowsy vision. A thunderous roar exploded in the sky. The claw print stirred up the wind, and a terrifying black storm once again came from afar. Boom! A huge pair of wings circled above Su-yi's head. It was the demonic beast Little Scale from before. Looking up at Little Scale, who was rushing over from outside the valley, the corners of Su-yi's mouth curled into a smile as he said softly, "Are you also here to help me? Good brother." Unknowingly, Su-yi had already regarded this demonic beast that had led him into the Red Cloud Valley as his little brother. Little Scale roared at the sky. Its huge body was like a black hill. It looked at the fire-scale extreme sky beast and then looked at Su-yi. Immediately after, it stretched out its four limbs. 4 terrifying demonic domain fire-based energy rushed down from Little Scale's huge body. Clang! At the same time, a small crystal of the fire-suppressing heaven stone was spat out from Little Scale's mouth. Accompanied by blood, it rapidly entered Su Yi's body. Buzz! With the crystal in his arms, blazing energy surged throughout his body. In an instant, every cell in Su Yi's body seemed to have come alive. His great void divine ocean was like a blazing sun, extremely bright. Ha! Fiery gas overflowed from Su Yi's throat. His palms held the fire-suppressing heaven stone tightly. At this moment, Su Yi seemed to have the power of 1,000 caddies. His palms, which were as hot as soldering iron, held the fire-suppressing heaven stone tightly. Bang! At this moment, the fire-suppressing heaven stone finally yielded. As the last wisp of flame was extinguished, countless fine crystals scattered in the air and were all absorbed by Su Yi. In an instant, a large amount of fire-based energy rushed into Su Yi's body. His body was like a withered tree in spring. His meridians extended and his spiritual sense was abundant. The endless energy caused Su Yi to be surrounded by an extremely dazzling red light. His palms moved up horizontally. Immediately, the entire sky was dyed in a fiery red color. Divine clouds densely covered the sky, and multicolored light stretched for thousands of miles. At this moment, Little Scale had already turned into a human form. It was blown away by Su Yi's energy. The fire-scale extreme sky beast at the side had sharp eyes and nimble hands and pulled it into its arms. Little Scale. The fire-scale extreme sky beast's weak voice quickly reached Su Yi's ears. Hearing the call, Su Yi did not care about the fire-based energy in his body that had yet to be completely released. He rushed to the extreme sky beast's side. His gaze instantly fluctuated. Yen Lin. This young man, whom he had not seen for a long time, actually appeared in front of Su Yi again. Chapter 23:18. Yen Lin. Su Yi's face twitched slightly as his eyes were filled with disbelief. The intense pain in his body caused his heart to beat rapidly. Looking at the badly mutilated youth in front of him, wasn't that his brother, Yen Lin? Could it be that the one who got close to him in the sacred sea of flames was Yen Lin? The one who brought him into the Red Cloud Valley was his brother, Yen Lin. After such a long time, Yen Lin still hadn't returned. So he had always been in the sacred sea of flames. Countless questions lingered in Su Yi's mind as his boiling eyes trembled. Su Yi's nose suddenly turned sour as he immediately started to check on Yen Lin's injuries. Yen Lin's strength, which had already reached the fiend domain realm, had abruptly decreased. Yen Lin, who had returned to his human form, had only recovered the strength of a first-stage fiend ancestor realm. Why did Yen Lin transform into the extreme, fiery scale sky beast? Su Yi quickly squatted down with doubts and sized up Yen Lin. His entire face was covered in black scales, and his messy hair and sparse scalp were intertwined. The scales on his face had wrinkles and veins. Although it was a little ugly, Su Yi felt that it was extremely familiar. The only difference was that the black scales had already faded and weren't as sinister as before. At this moment, the scales were open and Yen Lin's broken body was covered in blood. He looked extremely miserable. Pfff. The half-asleep Yen Lin constantly vomited blood as the corner of his eyes twitched as he looked at Su Yi. Fourth brother. Yen Lin smiled miserably as he looked at his body that had finally returned to human form. His eyes were filled with disappointment. Su Yi's expression was solemn as he tightly held onto Yen Lin's trembling black-scaled hand. He nodded and said, "Don't speak anymore. Let me treat your injuries." Immediately, he slowly helped Yen Lin up and the three of them each drank a bottle of spirit liquid. After a moment, Su Yi's energy entered Yen Lin's body. Only then did Su Yi realize how serious Yen Lin's injuries were. Chi La. The divine profound spirit meridians relaxed slightly. Su-yi, who was also seriously injured, endured the discomfort in his body and channeled his energy into Yen-lin's body. Buzz. The radiance of vital energy surged. The intense spatial fluctuations swayed back and forth around Su-yi and Yen-lin. At this moment, the voice of the flaming scale sky beast slowly transmitted over. I didn't expect little scale to have such a deep relationship with you. Light surged in his hands as Su-yi slowly opened his eyes. A wave of pressure spread out in the air. Su-yi's lips turned pale as he said, "Senior, what is going on?" "It all starts with the prejudice of humans." The corners of the fire scale heavenly extreme beast's mouth twitched slightly, and its weak expression instantly turned serious. It sat down beside the two of them, guarding its dantian and starting to heal. The fire scale heavenly beast glanced at the two who were recuperating. Its lips moved slightly as it narrated everything that happened when Yen-lin came here. As it turned out, Su-chun and Yen-lin had been teleported back to the Taichin continent by the Khanate lightning technique after the sacred martial assembly. Of course, before there was any news from Su-yi, Yen-lin followed Su-chun back to the Thunder Fire Temple. It had been mentioned before that Yen-lin was the descendant of the demon clan and the human clan. Out of 1,000 descendants, only one was close to normal. The remaining 999 of them either died halfway or became half-beast. In the Sky Barbarian continent, how could half-beast bodies be tolerated by human cultivators? In the underground black market, half-beast bodies were all bought back as livestock and toys. Of course, there were some valiant half-beast bodies that were produced by chance that weren't looked down upon by others. As for Yen-lin, he was basically a half-beast under normal circumstances and was slightly close to becoming a half-beast. When Little Scale's sworn brother brought him into the sect, he naturally received many opinions and disdain from these supreme beings. He was not tolerated. At this point, the fire scale heavenly extreme beast's eyes were mixed with fluctuations and anger. As the supreme being of the demon clan, the fire scale heavenly extreme beast was definitely unhappy to see his descendant being looked down upon like this. What happened later? Su-yi's eyes trembled as he supported himself with his hands. Desolate vital energy instantly enveloped Yen-lin. I heard from Little Scale that in order to make him happier, his brother made him come to the pagoda Flame Sea to cultivate and heal his injuries, far away from the crowd. Once, that brother seemed to have to attend some conference and left in a hurry, leaving the token made from the heaven-suppressing stone fragment in the pagoda Flame Sea. The fire scale heavenly extreme beast coughed dryly as his eyes moved slightly. Soon after, he continued, perhaps it was heaven's will that guided Little Scale all the way to this valley. After that, the two recognized each other and Yen-lin understood that he was the descendant of the fire scale heavenly extreme beast. In order to eliminate prejudice and become the legendary half-beast, he decided to use the fragment to refine the heaven-suppressing stone. However, he didn't expect that as soon as he refined it, he would be devoured by the flames. His entire body rapidly expanded and became a genuine fire-scale heavenly extreme beast. His cultivation directly soared, and because of his rash attempt, his injuries became even more serious. If not for the protection of the pagoda iron token, he would have probably turned into ashes. The fire-scale heavenly extreme beast pushed Yen-lin out, allowing him to slowly digest the extreme flames in his body in the pagoda Flame Sea. After that, Su-yi entered the Red Cloud Valley. Everything seemed to be heaven's will. The prejudice of humans is like this mountain. Without strong destruction, it will never be moved. The fire-scale heavenly extreme beast smiled bitterly as he looked at the unconscious Little Scale with eyes full of love. However, it's also a blessing in disguise. Although Yen-lin's body is covered in flames, he has completely evolved into a half-beast. In the future, he will definitely become a supreme expert that can sweep across the 9 heavens and 10 lands and ascend to the 4 seas and 8 lands. Su Yi looked at the scales that were gradually falling off Yen Lin's body, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. In the light of the flames, Yen Lin's cultivation had completely stabilized at the first level of the demon ancestor realm. Originally, the injuries from the sacred martial assembly, the backlash from the heaven-suppressing stone, and the eruption of his blood essence had already made Yen Lin extremely weak. Fortunately, all of this has ended. Su Yi let out a long breath as he withdrew his yuan qi and removed the palm print. His aura instantly became much weaker. After gently placing Yen Lin on the ground, Su Yi walked to the side and continued to heal his injuries. At this moment, Su Yi could only quickly heal his injuries. He couldn't care about anything else. His injuries were also incomparably serious. Sitting cross-legged in the middle of the valley, the violent yuan qi accompanied by a majestic aura soared into the sky. Su Yi quickly entered a state of healing. Time slowly passed like sand. When Su Yi opened his eyes again, the fire-scale heavenly extreme beast was already waiting by the side. Its weak footsteps were slightly staggering, making it look like an old man. Seeing Su Yi's powerful demon aura that was comparable to a sovereign, the fire-scale heavenly extreme beast's eyes trembled. "Human, who exactly are you?" Su Yi took a deep breath and bowed deeply towards the fire-scale heavenly extreme beast. Chapter 23:19. Thinking of his identity as a Hunyuan demon emperor and that he came from Earth, there was indeed no doubt. Su Yi's eyes flickered as he said, "Actually, I don't know who I am." Boom. At this moment, the crimson fire clouds in the sky began to collapse continuously. Like the fierce attacks of demonic beasts, the sound of explosions resounded throughout the universe. "Senior, let's go out quickly." The pagoda fire sea rose because of the heaven-suppressing stone. Now that the heaven-suppressing stone is gone, I'm afraid the pagoda will become hell, Su Yi said anxiously. As he spoke, Su Yi walked to Yen Lin's side, released a monstrous aura, and carried the extremely weak Yen Lin on his shoulder. At this moment, the fire-scale sky beast's eyes moved slightly as it looked at the distorted space. It once again turned into a huge demonic beast that covered the sky and hovered in the air. Its voice slowly fell. "I've been here for too long. I don't want to go out anymore. The sea of fire has collapsed. I want to do one last thing for the living beings here." The fire-scale sky beast's blood-red eyes trembled. Compared to the aura from before, Su Yi sensed that refining the heaven-suppressing stone this time had injured the fire-scale sky beast equally. "Human, I'll wait here for you to tell me the secret of the heaven-suppressing stone. Finally, tell me my name." The fire-scale sky beast shouted loudly in the wind and fire. As its voice fell, a huge terrifying wind and wave swept out again. A thin crack of baleful aura spanned between heaven and earth. This was the limit of what the fire-scale sky beast could do. "Senior." Hearing that, Su Yi's eyes were incomparably moved. Sparkling and translucent light shot out as he stared closely at the spatial crack between heaven and earth. Boom! Balls of terrifying flame energy covered heaven and earth, blotting out the sky and covering the earth. Soon, this valley's heaven and earth would no longer exist. The sea of fire would also surge wantonly. Clenching his teeth, Su Yi looked at the fire-scale sky beast in the sky. This was the prejudice that the old man spoke of. Humans and demons had always been enemies. Who would have thought that this Thunderfire sacred temple would ultimately be guarded by an unrelated demon elder? Get rid of prejudice. Get rid of the prejudice in his heart. "Thank you, Senior. I'll tell you the secret of the heaven-suppressing stone when I return. Also, I'm the Hunyuan Demon Emperor, the king of the realm of the gods." The corner of Su Yi's mouth curled up. After he finished speaking, 3 shocking waves were released from his body at the same time. They were the soul puppet beast Qi Feihong and Ling Qianxue. Su-yi was also telling himself to accept his identity as a Hunyuan Demon Emperor. Su-yi wanted to understand everything about Hunyuan Demon Emperor and the events of the immemorial calamity. He wanted to get rid of Hunyuan Demon Emperor's prejudice in the realm of the gods. The 12 divine beasts had been waiting for 10,000 years. Furthermore, there were kind-hearted creatures like Tuntun and the fire-scaled heavenly beast. How could the Hunyuan Demon Emperor not return? Suddenly, Su-yi carried Yen-lin on his back and looked at the thin space in the sky. The corner of his mouth twitched slightly, and the image of a roaring golden dragon rushed out from his hand. The violent dragon might that could destroy the heavens and the earth was endless. Golden dragon's sky-penetrating finger. Roar. Golden light spilled onto the ground, boundless and endless. It turned into a dragon's shadow, and the golden light illuminated the heavens and the earth. It also brought the last of the resplendent light to this ancient land. The cracks merged, and the mountains and rivers collapsed. The sky was filled with fireballs, and it was like a blazing hell. Looking at the sky gradually becoming one, the fire-scaled heavenly beast's deep voice slowly descended. He laughed loudly and said, "Interesting human. Help me take good care of little Lin." In the next second, a bloody light poured down, and the demonic aura spread out between the blazing heavens and earth. The endless flames seemed to be controlled by a bloody hand. The heavens and earth were dark, and the world was dark. After Lan Balian and Duguyuma invited all the Sealing Elders, the two of them looked at the sky above the stupa sea of flames. Powerful energy waves swept across, and the sparkling and translucent light made one's soul tremble. The monstrous waves of flames spiraled, and the entire sky above the Thunder Fire's sacred palace was as bright as day. Still not out yet? Duguyuma and Lan Xiaolian stood far behind him. The waves of Sea of Fire made their souls tremble. Lan Balian also had a worried look. She clasped her hands in front of her, and the waves of flames blew her long hair and swept her eyes. Hold on. This is the 5th wave. That kid must be having a lot of fun. We must not give up. Yen Mietian, whose aura was ferocious, and the fire dragons in his hands appeared out of thin air. His eyes were filled with excitement as he spoke loudly. Ha! Suddenly, the dozens of experts and elders behind him cheered, and excitement flashed across their faces. Although they did not know why Yen Mietian cared so much about this kid, to be able to go so deep into the stupa sea of flames, he was also a rare genius. Suddenly, everyone shouted and pushed their hands forward. Mysterious fire runes rushed to the heavens and earth, and the huge flames in the sky seemed to be alive, surging and surging. Whoosh! While everyone was cheering, the stupa sea of flames was like a boiling cauldron, and the surging magma was surging. In an instant, a huge flame aura filled the air, and the monstrous flames surged violently. In the entire array, the wind and clouds surged, and the destructive blazing energy was released like a tornado. The sonic boom shook the sky, and the space trembled. Bang! Wave after wave, the crazy energy seemed to be devouring everything in the world. It was like a demonic beast that was about to destroy the world, and it opened its bloody mouth, wanting to destroy Yen Mietian and the others. Hold on! Feeling the extraordinary pressure, Yen Mietian's eyes widened, and the muscles on his body trembled. The flames on his body trembled violently, and he shouted, "It's coming again! Hold on!" At that moment, everyone present could feel that this time, compared to the previous 5 waves, it was more violent and ferocious. Under the surging killing intent, the raging heat almost overturned the entire Thunder Fire sacred temple. This was the rhythm of the sacred temple's destruction. Suddenly, everyone, including Lan Yelyan and Duguyuma, was shocked. Without any hesitation, they rushed up to the sky. "Let me help you!" Vitality Chi surged out, and Lan Yelyan and Duguyuma's faces trembled violently. The moment the thick, fiery energy came into contact with them, their eyes trembled, and they felt a sweetness in their chests. The surging flames were incomparably hot, and it was not something that could be frozen by human strength. How can it be so strong? The corner of Lan Yelyan's mouth twitched, and a look of horror flashed across her eyes. Yen Mietian's face was also solemn, and the ferocious aura made him very uncomfortable. He said softly, "Little girl, I will remember this kindness. You are much better than the heavenly monarch." "I thank you." Lan Yelyan rolled her eyes. Yen Mietian was still comparing himself to the heavenly monarch at this moment. Thinking of what Endless Sky Sea City had done to Sui, she was afraid that from now on, Endless Sky Sea City and the Thunderfire Sacred Temple would not be able to take another step forward. Chapter 23:20. Suddenly, Lan Xiaoyan curled her lip. She felt an unprecedented force coming from below her. She shouted, "Umo, be careful!" Roar. Everyone stood on the top of the building and looked down. Heat waves were rolling in the pagoda flames, and a ferocious golden wave was surging from the bottom. In an instant, everyone felt that this attack was extraordinary. A premonition of danger surged in their hearts. Yen Mia Tian quickly shouted behind him, "We can't hold on anymore. Elders, listen to my command. Everyone, withdraw your palms immediately." Hearing this, all the powerhouses and elders looked grave. The space in front of them collapsed, and the huge wave of flames surged over like a giant hand. Its power was shocking. Everyone knew that if they continued to hold on, they would be destroyed together. Not only would they lose the pagoda flames, but the elders would also be injured. Bang! They shouted in unison, and the mysterious flaming palm prints were instantly withdrawn. Dozens of vital chi radiances rushed to heaven and earth, and the powerhouses instantly retreated at lightning speed. At the same time, the entire building in the pagoda flames turned into glass shards and shattered. A few thousand meters of surging flames surged into heaven and earth. The majestic energy was like a ferocious tiger, and the surrounding space was distorted. Bang! The merciless fire pillar was like an evil dragon. It rushed into the clouds and swallowed all the clouds within a few thousand meters. Under the thunderous aura, everyone quickly retreated. This was the pagoda flames. The earth-shaking movement shocked all the powerhouses present. Looking at the dazzling fire pillar, the shocking energy was endless. The space was also distorted rapidly, and cracks filled the sky. The entire sky above the Thunderfire Sacred Temple was like purgatory. What's going on down there? Has the entire pagoda flames been turned upside down? Who is that brat? How could he make the sacred temple so miserable? This kid wants to completely annihilate my Thunderflame Temple with a raise of his hand. All the Supreme Being powerhouses stood in the sky, and their eyes were ferocious. These people were all martial arts masters in the Tianan continent. Seeing such a scene, they were still frightened. Bang! Bang! Huge flames were accompanied by golden light, and a golden dragon charged into heaven and earth. Instantly, destructive energy spread and tore the space into pieces. Halala! At this moment, a sea of people had already gathered at the top of the various palaces in the Thunderfire Sacred Temple's tens of thousands of miles of territory. Now that things had come to this point, all the supreme experts of the Thunderfire Temple knew that something big was going to happen in the Sacred Sea of Flames today. Especially since today was the fire offering ceremony. At this moment, the eyes of many young experts that had retreated from the sacred ocean of flames seemed to be dazed as they looked towards the direction of the ocean of flames. Even though they were tens of thousands of miles away from the Sea of Fire, everyone knew that if they were to get close to it, no one would be able to withstand it. Good heavens, it's a good thing that we retreated first. Today is not the fire offering ceremony. This is clearly a sacrifice to me. What exactly happened beneath the sacred sea of flames? Did Shuchen do this? Terrifying. Who knows, Temple might be in trouble today. Watching from afar, everyone's eyes trembled. They looked in the direction of the sea of flames and swallowed their saliva in disbelief. Bang bang! The cracks in the space exploded crazily. The huge pillar of flames struck the heavens and the earth for a few minutes. As the flames dissipated, the illusory figure of the golden dragon appeared before everyone's eyes. In the illusory figure, the golden dragon was vivid and lifelike. Flames shot out from the dragon's scales, making it look even more domineering. The huge dragon head roared in the heavens and the earth. Golden light shot out from the dragon's eyes as though it had gathered the spirits of thousands of mountains and rivers. It was overlooking the heavens and the earth in a domineering manner. At this moment, a young man in the illusory figure was shrouded in golden light. His entire body was supported by divine radiance. The green robe behind him fluttered in the wind. His demonic aura was rampant as though he was the supreme being of the heavens and earth. Staring at the domineering figure in the illusory figure, Lan Yelyen and Duguyuma took a step forward at the same time and shouted in joy, "Su-yi!" After seeing the figure clearly, Yen Mietian's tiger body trembled. A flame-like aura rushed out as he shouted, "Su-yi! It's really you!" Swish! Standing high in the sky, Su-yi's face was extremely pale. Blood slowly flowed out from under his green robe. His deep eyes slowly looked at the experts below the stage. A trace of ruthlessness flashed in the depths of his eyes. Su-yi wasn't angry at the Thunder Fire Temple. He was angry at the supreme fire scale beast for sacrificing its life to protect everyone present. Looking at all the awe-inspiring gazes, Su-yi's heart was filled with mixed feelings. With a wave of his hand, a vigorous golden light rushed out from his body. The ferocious aura of the golden dragon surged wildly in the sky above the Thunder Fire Temple for the first time. In the blink of an eye, the waves of fire calmed down. The golden light that filled the sky turned into a golden rainstorm that fell to the ground. Everything returned to normal. Looking at the aura of the golden dragon that appeared just now, all the experts of the Thunder Fire Temple were stunned. That was the aura of the golden dragon. Was it someone from the Long family? Suddenly, Yen Mie Tian's face turned ugly. During the Tianfeng ranking battle, Su-yi hadn't completely released the aura of the golden dragon. His figure flashed, and he appeared in front of Su-yi with a strange expression. "Su-yi, you're finally out." Lan Yelyen and Duguyuma flew over. Seeing the injuries on Su-yi's body, they were shocked. Their beautiful eyes flickered. Su-yi looked at the two and nodded. Fear and vigilance surged in the eyes of the experts, and malice flickered between their brows as they looked at Su-yi. "Temple Master, who is this young man? Why does he have the aura of the golden dragon?" The supreme elders present looked solemn as they pointed at Su-yi and asked. Instantly, the entire sky above the sacred ocean of flames seemed as if it was in an uproar, and even the young experts in the distance were greatly shocked. Someone from the Long family actually appeared in the sky above the Thunder Fire Temple? "Temple Master, please give us a reasonable explanation." That's right. The Thunder Fire Temple has never been in cahoots with the Long family. How can there be someone from the Long family here? Could it be that the genius we saved with great difficulty is a bastard from the Long family? All the experts were shocked. They couldn't accept that they had saved someone from the Long family. Moreover, this person had appeared in their own forbidden area. Bang! Suddenly, countless disciples looked at Su-yi with hostility and coldness. Their previous respect and admiration had turned into contempt and disdain at this moment. It was prejudice again. Just as the extreme sky beast had said, the prejudice in people's hearts was like a mountain. In his mind, Su-yi thought of the old man who had sacrificed his life for the people of the Thunder Fire Temple. Could it be that 10,000 years ago, for your own strength, you didn't join the evil? Su-yi frowned and his left hand was still supporting the injured Yen Lin. "What did you say?" Yen Mie Tian's eyes darkened. He thought he had misheard and looked at Su-yi in disbelief. Chapter 23-21. Su Yi's black eyes were filled with seriousness. He slowly raised his head and stared at Yen Mietian's face. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Palace Master Yen, don't think that everyone who has the aura of the Golden Dragon is a bad guy. The reason why you can stand here safely is because of the demonic beast that you look down on. A demon beast? Yen Extermination's eyes widened as he looked at Su Yi thoughtfully. When he saw Yen Lin, who was in Su Yi's hand, Yen Mietian seemed to understand something and kept silent. However, Su Yi's words deeply hurt the sovereign experts of the Thunderfire Holy Temple. All the sovereign experts frowned. How could this kid, who was not even 20 years old, speak so harshly? Kid, I dare you to say it again. How dare you? The Thunderfire Holy Temple doesn't need a demonic beast to protect it. Kid, I advise you not to be willful. Su Yi, what happened down there? Yen Mietian frowned and walked to Su Yi's side in a low voice. After he spoke, his gaze gradually shifted downwards. His gaze landed on Yen Lin, who was riddled with wounds. His sparse hair paired with his bloody scales made him look extremely miserable. As expected, Yen Lin had always been under the sacred sea of flames. Yen Mietian's eyes flashed with an undetectable light as he said to Su Yi, "Take Yen Lin to the sacred hall to rest. Leave the rest to me." Su Yi sneered and shook his head. He then looked at Lan Balian and Duguyuma. The two girls beside him also looked cold. As long as Su Yi came out, they would follow Su Yi's lead. "Let's go. Palace Master Yen, I will explain some things to you later," Su Yi said faintly. After that, Su Yi's cold gaze swept past the numerous faces that were filled with killing intent. Su Yi's eyes were filled with a cold and dignified expression as his figure flashed and instantly vanished on the spot. "Palace Master Yen, let's take him to Su Chen." Lan Balian's eyes were trembling. She and Duguyuma followed Su Yi. What? Suddenly, dozens of Supreme Being experts appeared in front of Su Yi, blocking his path. Mysterious runes surged in the sky, and the awe-inspiring words slowly fell. "Brat, if you don't make things clear today, you can't leave." "That's right. You entered the forbidden grounds of my divine temple without permission. What benefits did you obtain? And this beastman brat, what did you do in my forbidden area? Speak." 3 consecutive interrogations resounded in the air, and the expressions of countless young experts in the distance changed as well. No one would have thought that the young man who was protected by the supreme martial artist experts just a moment ago would immediately become the target of public criticism. Boom. At this moment, Su Yi's complexion had regained some of its blood-red color. When he spread his consciousness out, he found that the people who were making things difficult for him were all experts at the Yuan domain stage and above. Immediately, Su Yi felt annoyed in his heart. His left hand held the flame scale, while his right hand waved the essence radiance. A fire-attributed huge dragon that was as fast as lightning instantly rushed out from his palm. Flames soared into the sky, and with a roar, it was as if a huge Yuan Qi beast was charging out. Boom! The fire dragon opened a path, and the unparalleled flaming wind that was mixed with the aura of the Origin's supreme martial art exploded the entire sky in an instant. The fiery energy was ferocious and terrifying, and it made the few Yuan domain experts in the way frown. They quickly moved their feet and dodged. In a flash, a small mountain collapsed and the ground cracked. Gravel scattered and dust spread out. Qi La! When they looked behind Su Yi again, they saw that his body was surrounded by flames, and he was already more than 1,000 meters away. In the distance, Su Yi's face was incomparably weak, but his eyes were surging with deep coldness. He did not even look back as he headed toward the Thunderfire Sacred Temple. The crowd was amazed, and the experts who had witnessed this scene were even more shocked. This brat who came out of the sea of flames had such destructive power with just a casual move. Bastard! The supreme martial artist who was blocking the way saw it with his own eyes and was shocked to the point of disbelief. Sui left, and the remaining two women did not stop him. They could only let Lan Yelyan and Duguyuma chase after him. I have said that I will give the elders an explanation for what happened later. Yen Mietian roared angrily, and his eyes turned solemn. Everyone looked at Su Yi's figure in the distance. Yen Mietian's body trembled uncontrollably as the afterimages of the flames lingered in the air. Su Yi, who was covered in blood, did not show the slightest fear when facing the supreme martial artist from the sacred temple. His cultivation realm was so high that it was frightening. His courage and cultivation made people gasp in admiration. Could that kid have already reached the Yuan domain stage? Yen Mia Tian's pitch-black eyes suddenly flashed with a trace of undetectable anticipation. Only the supreme martial artists were left in the sky above the Buter Sea of Flames. There were also the young experts who had gathered in the mountains, and they were so shocked that they lost their voices. The fire sacrificial ceremony this time was simply too magical. Su Yi had gone out to sea. Since when did the Buter Sea of Flames become a place where one could enter and leave at will? At this moment, countless sighs of envy were directed at Su Yi, and no one dared to look at Su Yi. Some of the martial artists who were close to Su Yi could feel an incomparably domineering pressure just by looking at his cold face. Their eyes trembled, and they could not get over it for a long time. Su Yi came to Su Chen's room with a solemn face. Under the guidance of Lan Yelyan and Duguyuma, some of the elders left the room. Sitting beside Su Chen, Su Yi quickly put Yen Lin down. Lan Yelyan and Duguyuma did not dare to say a word in the face of Su Yi's solemn face. You don't have to be nervous. I am fine. This is my second brother, and this is my third brother. Please take good care of them for me. Lan Yelyan nodded. The Spirit Treasure Pavilion had already heard that Su Yi had the sacred flame and had sworn brotherhood. However, no one would have thought that her third brother, Yen Lin, was also in the Buter Sea of Flames. Even Su Chen did not know about it. After checking Yen Lin's cultivation, Lan Yelyan's eyes suddenly lit up. A young demon ancestor realm martial artist. No matter which sect he was in, he would be a supreme talent. What was different from Lan Yelyan was that Duguyuma's gaze was fixed on Su Yi. Are you all right? Duguyuma's blue eyes moved slightly as she looked at Su Yi, who was covered in blood. Some parts of his arms and chest were torn open, and it looked extremely horrifying. Su Yi took a deep breath and endured the intense pain in his body. He took out 2 bottles of spirit liquid from his interspatial bag and handed them to Lan Yelyan and Duguyuma. He said softly, I am fine, but I need to leave for a few days. Take good care of them for me. After receiving the spirit liquid, Duguyuma nodded obediently. Even though she had countless questions like Lan Yelyan, she couldn't bring herself to ask anything when she saw Su Yi's expression. Chapter 23-22. Following which, Su Yi's feet lit up as he opened the window. His body lit up again as he turned into a flaming butterfly and charged out. After Su Yi left, only Lan Yelyan and Duguyuma were left in the room. They looked at each other and smiled helplessly. The two of them were clearly the elite disciples of their respective families. Even Su Chen and Yen Lin were dragons and phoenixes among men. Why did they feel so powerless in front of Su Yi? Su Yi seems to be getting further and further away. Duguyuma gently fed the spiritual liquid to Yen Lin, while Lan Yelyan was also taking care of Su Chen. Duguyuma's blue eyes lit up. Following Duguyuma's direction, Lan Yelyan looked down and stared at Yen Lin. There was also a trace of incredulity in her eyes. His appearance, why did it change? Lan Yelyan exclaimed. The sparse hair on Yen Lin's body was constantly increasing. The black scales that were originally on his body were also gradually fading until they could no longer be seen. In less than a moment, Yen Lin's entire body was no different from that of a normal person. Without the cover of the scales, Yen Lin actually had an extraordinary heroic spirit and an innate evil aura. At the same time, it was unknown if it was due to the spiritual liquid or his demonic aura, but Yen Lin's wounds were healing at a visible speed. As expected, Su Yi's brothers are all abnormal people. Lan Yelyan smiled helplessly. In that case, has little brother Yen Lin already become a complete half-demon? The disciples of aristocratic families were knowledgeable. Duguyuma could tell the difference between a half-demon and half-beast body at a glance. Duguyuma's blue eyes landed on Yen Lin's body. After taking a closer look, a domineering aura of a first-stage demon ancestor realm surged over. Lan Yelyan's breathing also became heavy as she nodded. Not bad. It seems like Su Yi has another terrifying helper. Half-demon body. He seems to be around the same age as Su Yi. His growth speed is really impressive. Inside the room, the whistling Yuan Qi radiance circulated. Lan Xiaoyan thought of her master. After this, he should also hurry back to Sky Sea City. If the Thunder Fire Temple is really on good terms with Su Yi, then the war between Su Yi and the Long family will soon begin. All of this was imminent. A peerless youth emerged from the sacred sea of flames. He even had the aura of a golden dragon on his body. A single move from him was enough to make a Yuan domain expert retreat. This matter spread throughout the entire Thunder Fire Temple like a whirlwind. The name Su Yi was like a legend that was nailed into the hearts of the young powerhouses. Many people who doubted him were quickly convinced by the miraculous experience that was passed down by word of mouth. But at this moment, the Hall Supreme Palace in the Thunder Fire Sacred Hall was in an uproar. Hall Master, what's going on? That brat actually dared to talk about our Thunder Fire Temple like that. Since when did it become a brat's turn to talk about aristocratic family matters? It seems like the sacred sea of flames isn't as blazing as it used to be. That brat must not let the sacred hall out. Almost all the supremes of the Thunder Fire Temple had gathered together, hoping that Yen Mietian would give them an explanation. At this moment, the old fogies who hadn't come out for hundreds of years were throwing away their usual dignity for the sake of Su Yi. Sitting on the main seat, Yen Mietian frowned and covered his ears. Everyone below him was of higher seniority than him. When he heard that the sacred sea of flames wasn't as blazing as it used to be, Yen Mietian immediately shouted, "That's enough. How many meters can you dive into the sacred sea of flames?" Immediately the entire place fell silent. Yen Mietian pointed at the elder who had shouted the loudest and the highest and said angrily, "Elder Fong, you are the most senior here. How many meters can you dive into the sacred sea of flames?" Elder Fong choked and said in a trembling voice, "Even if that brat has reached the bottom of the sacred sea of flames, we can't. Even so, we can't let him go, right?" Yen Mietian waved his hand and said in a voice mixed with Yuan Qi, "Even so, we can't let him go like this. I know that Chen is seriously injured and little Lin was forced to jump into the sacred sea of flames. Now their sworn brother, Su Yi, has saved them. What do you want me to do?" The voices in the main hall suddenly became softer. These three are the most talented in the sacred sea of flames. Even if Su Yi and little Lin aren't from the sacred sea of flames, Chen is. How can they run away? Yen Mietian scolded these old fogies. Immediately, the Supremes looked worried and discussed with each other. Elder Fong stood out again and said, "What do you mean, Temple Venerable? Wait until their injuries are healed and Chen wakes up." Speaking of which, the first Temple Venerable led the Thunder Fire Temple to this place. The first Temple Venerable even said that the Thunder Fire Temple would give anyone who could reach the bottom of the sacred sea of flames. Don't you know about this? After saying this, everyone present was shocked. Elder Fong said loudly, "He has the aura of the Golden Dragon. His origin is unknown." Yen Mietian frowned and said loudly to the elders, "All right, I will investigate the aura of the Golden Dragon. I can guarantee that he is not from the Long family. He knew that no matter what he said, it would be useless to talk to these old fogies. In Yen Mietian's mind, Su Yi had the golden dragon, the imperial sparrow bloodline, and the monstrous fire attribute Yuan Qi. This kid had improved by leaps and bounds. What did he find at the bottom of the sacred sea of flames? In the past, the 5 aristocratic families had destroyed the Tianfeng Martial Pavilion in order to snatch the Golden Heaven suppressing stone. Yen Mietian suddenly thought of an incredible question. Could there be a Golden Heaven suppressing stone at the bottom of the sacred sea of flames? Thinking of this, Yen Mietian's eyelids trembled. This was a difficult problem to deal with. Even if he wanted to cooperate with Su Yi, if he had the Golden Heaven suppressing stone, it would be troublesome. Those old fogies outside wouldn't let Su Yi go. Yen Mietian waved his hand and asked the supreme beings present to return to their respective cultivation areas. He went to check on Su Chen and Yen Lin. When he heard that Su Yi had left Su Chen's room, Yen Mietian stroked his chin and the corners of his mouth curled up. In front of Lan Yelyan and the others, the experts of the Thunder Fire Temple asked Yen Mietian if they should chase after him. There is no need. I believe that kid will come back. After saying this, Yen Mietian looked at Su Chen with a heavy gaze. After instructing Lan Yelyan to take good care of Su Chen and Yen Lin, he walked out. After leaving Su Chen's room, Su Yi flew in another direction, away from the Thunder Fire Temple. Su Yi flew along the forest of the Thunder Fire Temple, sticking close to the ground. The area occupied by a 10,000-year-old aristocratic family was always astonishing. After traveling for more than an hour, Su Yi saw the mountains, rivers, lakes, surface creatures, spirit birds, and ancient beasts of the Thunder Fire Holy Palace. Chapter 23:23. At this moment, a faint aura rushed into Su Yi's nose. It's Tuntun's aura. Sensing Tuntun's aura, Su Yi had a bad premonition. Shouldn't Tuntun be looking after Tiger Pool? Why would she be here? The aura in the air was very weak, which made Su Yi's heart sink. As he pondered, Su Yi frowned. He urgently needed to find a place to recover from his injuries and completely refine the fire suppression heavenly stone in his body. Following Tuntun's aura, Su Yi found a cave on the cliff. Before he even got close, a golden and sonorous sound of Yuan Qi rushed out. Xiahong House is still inside. Su Yi's gaze turned serious. He immediately activated the Origin Supreme technique and easily broke the spatial restrictions set up by Xiahong House. Entering the cave, Xiahong House was wrapped in golden light. Unparalleled energy of heaven and earth gathered on Xiahong House's body. Golden light shot out from between her brows and landed on Tuntun's body. From the looks of it, Tuntun, who was in the demon domain, was severely injured. Xiahong House had already activated the heavenly golden stone. The surging golden waves slammed onto Tuntun's body. Tuntun's thundercloud eyes suddenly opened and closed. Suddenly, a fiery aura poured out from the cracks of the stone on her body. It was bright and hot. Su Yi muttered to himself. Tuntun seemed to be severely injured in the sea of fire. Tuntun, who had never experienced such a violent wave of fire, was naturally unable to take it. Immediately, Su Yi sat down beside her. He closed his eyes and formed a hand seal. His spirit entered the spirit sea. Following the path of the Origin Supreme technique, the primordial ancient bell appeared around Su Yi once again. The ancient patterns formed a special contrast with the fiery aura. The stars shrouded the bell and the shadows of the 12 mythical beasts at the top filled the entire cave with an ancient and domineering aura. Soon, the fiery attribute rushed out from Su Yi's body. The flames were no longer violent but carried a strange energy wave. As the flame energy surged within the great void divine sea, the magma-like red qi of vital energy completely filled the god of spiritual meridians. At this time, Qi Feihong also benefited from Su Yi's cultivation. When he opened his eyes, 2 heaven-subduing stones, one blue and one red, slowly revolved above Su Yi's head. The two heaven-suppressing stones were sparkling and translucent. They were strangely quiet, but they contained an enormous amount of energy. Bang bang! In less than 4 hours, the red and blue lights became even more intense. Energy revolved around Su Yi's body. The aura in his body surged and 2 crisp sounds rang out. 8th level Origin Ancestor Stage. 9th level Origin Ancestor Stage. After refining the fire sky suppressing stone, Su Yi had broken through 2 levels of the Origin Ancestor realm and 2 of his hidden entrances had exploded. At this time, Su Yi's aura continued to rise. The light of the flames was like the sun rising from the east. He has broken through 2 levels of the Origin Ancestor Stage. Qi Feihong was shocked. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva and instantly sat up. He carefully observed the changes in the aura around Su Yi's body. Buzz buzz! The 2 extremely incompatible qi of vital energy miraculously merged together at this moment. A warm radiance surged around Su Yi's body. It was dazzling. A huge suction force pulled the energy between heaven and earth. Visible energy strands quickly gathered around Su Yi and entered his body through his jade-like skin. Soon, a brilliant starlight appeared behind Su Yi. Following the vigorous aura of the Origin Supreme technique, the shadows of ferocious demonic beasts appeared together as if they were fighting for supremacy. In an instant, small flashes of wind and clouds surged. On the thick mountain walls, frightening spiderweb-like cracks spread out due to this huge energy. Bang bang! In the distance, Tunten and Xiahong Lu had finished healing their injuries. The ferocious air current rushed toward Xiahong Lu. The 2 of them were surprised to find that Su Yi had also come to this cave. Master! Tunten weakly shrank back into a round black stone ball and lay on Xiahong Lu's body. This fellow has broken through again. Xiahong Lu's expression was not very good after exhausting a huge amount of vital energy for Tunten. Narrowing his eyes, the air current within the flashes grew faster and faster. The huge energy created by the collision of the 2 yuan qis of water and fire shook heaven and earth. The huge sound of mountains collapsing and the earth cracking forced Qi Feihong to fly out. Panting loudly, Qi Feihong sized up Su Yi with a serious gaze and said to Xiahong Lu beside him, "This kid is trying to break through to the Origin Domain Stage. He's too bold." Origin Domain Stage. Hearing this, Tunten and Xiahong Lu's eyes trembled at the same time. The corners of their mouths unconsciously trembled. Origin Emperor Stage practitioners could already be called experts in the Sky Barbarian continent. The Origin Ancestor Stage was an existence that many people could only dream of. Reaching the Origin Domain Stage was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Even for colossal entities like the 5 great families and the top 3 factions, Yuan domain experts were extremely precious existences. Su Yi, who was almost 20 years old, was trying to break through to the Origin Domain Stage? Could he succeed? The 3 of them were full of doubts. At this thought, Xiahong Lu's and Tunten's eyes glowed at the same time. They gasped at the terrifying air current that swept across the sky. At this moment, the energy around Su Yi's body was becoming more and more terrifying. Rings of light were arranged, and a buzzing sound was heard in their ears, making their hearts palpitate. At the same time, in the Thunder Fire Sacred Hall, Yen Mietian, who was looking out, also noticed the commotion in the depths of the sacred hall. Monstrous dark clouds gathered in the sky above the cave. Silver-white electric arcs were hidden in the darkness, and the powerful wind energy turned into a storm that swept across the area. Who's breaking through outside the sacred hall? At this moment, many elders, including Elder Fong, came to the hall master's room once again. Yen Mietian Tiger's eyes glowed as he looked into the distance. A shocking force shot across the sky. Ring after ring of pitch-black ripples spread out in the air, and the terrifying aura in the surroundings was even more terrifying. It was obvious that someone was breaking through to the origin domain stage. It's the bastard kid you're talking about. He's breaking through to the origin domain stage. Yen Mietian sniffed as a trace of shock flashed across the depths of his eyes. However, there was also extreme astonishment. As soon as he said that, everyone was shocked. That's impossible. When I exchanged blows with him just now, how could an origin ancestor realm cultivator release such a vigorous force? My spiritual sense has always been sharp. This kid's cultivation should be at the 7th level of the origin ancestor stage. Elder Fong, he's indeed at the origin ancestor stage. He's only 20 years old. Some of the people who had seen Su Yi at the Tianfeng ranking tournament began to introduce Su Yi to Elder Fong and the other Grand Elders. Chapter 23-24. At such a young age, he had won first place in the Tianfeng ranking tournament and become the top martial artist among the younger generation. After that, he had made enemies with the Long family several times. Many of the elders who were not involved in worldly affairs fell silent when they heard this. Did this mean that everything that had happened in the Thunderfire Sacred Hall today had been stirred up by a young origin ancestor? It seems that I haven't been out for a long time. I can't believe such a miraculous young man has appeared in this world. Elder Fong waved his hand as if he was relieved that Su Yi had the aura of a golden dragon in his body. Elders, age doesn't mean everything. The Long family has been ambitious in recent years, and will soon make a big move. If there is anyone who can overturn this situation, it is Su Yi. Yen Mietian turned around and said to the elders in a serious tone. In an instant, countless discussions resounded in the inner chamber. Many of the elders' weathered faces were filled with anticipation. The 5 aristocratic families were born at the same time. Why must the Thunderfire Sacred Hall be suppressed by the Long family? Everyone in the Sacred Hall had wanted to vent their anger for a long time, but they lacked an opportunity and a person. Now, the Sacred Hall seemed to have found such a person. Hall Master, as long as this young man can explain what happened in the pagoda flames, we will do our best to support him. Yes, this young man is a dragon among men. Chun-Er is lucky to be his brother. Otherwise, he would have overshadowed him. The Thunderfire Sacred Hall should be on good terms with him, Hall Master. Yen Mietian couldn't help but be moved by the elder's change in attitude. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly as he looked at Su Yi and said, "Young man, how did you grow up? Where did you get such good luck?" With just a few words, Su Yi had managed to change the minds of these elders with his heaven-defying talent. Yen Mietian was shocked when he saw the storm-like spatial energy in the distance. He raised his hand and said, "Elders, Su Yi seems to be in danger of breaking through. Should we go to the defensive array? A 20-year-old Yuan domain cultivator is unprecedented." "Yes, Hall Master, this is a good opportunity to rope this young man in. Actually, I think this kid has quite a bit of gut. I want to guard him." Instantly, the elders who had sensed that something was amiss were eager to give it a try. They wanted Su Yi to successfully ascend to the Yuan domain stage. The elders behind him were once again agitated. However, a trace of hesitation appeared in the corner of Yen Mietian's eyes. Did this brat find the fire-suppressing heavenly stone inside the sea of fire or not? Whether or not the fire-suppressing heavenly stone existed was one thing, but if it really existed and Su Yi took it away, Yen Mietian couldn't guarantee that these old men would still be as nice as they were now. Yen Mietian shouted, "Forget it! Elders, listen to me!" Yen Mietian's gaze swept over the excited supreme beings. His heart was filled with helplessness as he said, "Why did Su Yi go deep into the mountains to make a breakthrough? Of course, I'm afraid of you. Whether or not he succeeds depends on his fate. If we forcefully help him break through, he won't owe us a favor." Hearing Yen Mietian's words, the elders were reminded of how they had treated this brat previously. Immediately, their faces turned red as they nodded in agreement. After persuading the elders with great difficulty, a monstrous force spread out from the mountains behind them. The entire space rapidly exploded, and terrifying spatial cracks spread across the sky. The materialized spatial cracks seemed to have a mind of their own as they devoured the energy light in the mountains. The light that was enough to make one's heart palpitate covered the sky and earth. Then, with an earth-shattering explosion, the darkness quickly disappeared. There was no heavenly might, nor was there any worldly anomaly. There was only endless silence. After the storm, a few sparse birds and beasts flew high into the sky. The lingering beauty of the birds and beasts was still lingering in the air. Did he fail? Elder Fong looked from afar, his wrinkled eyes filled with shock. It seems like he failed. Yenmia Tian smiled helplessly. Based on the current situation, Su Yi should have failed to break through. Speaking of which, it was normal. Su Yi had exhausted so much of his Yuan Qi attribute in the sacred sea of flames. Did he want to break through to the Yuan domain realm and become a supreme expert? Anyone would think that it was a fantasy. But this brat is still invincible. A 7th-level Origin Ancestor Realm cultivator actually broke through to the Yuan domain realm after coming out of the Sea of Flames. Yeah, I've never seen such courage and ability in my life. Temple Master, it's a good thing that he didn't break through. It's a great thing. The elders looked into the distance. Not only did their eyes not dim, but they also burned with passion. Elder Fong held Yenmia Tian's hand and said, "Temple Master, how long did it take you to break through to the Yuan Ancestor Realm?" Instantly, 3 black lines flashed across the corners of Yenmia Tian's eyes. His lips twitched slightly as he stretched out his hand and said, "The first level was 1 year, and the second level was 2 years. Such a result was synonymous with the top genius in the Thunder Fire Temple, and no one had broken it until now." Yeah. Elder Fong did not seem sad about Su Yi's failure at all. Instead, he was even happier. Turning around, Elder Fong said to the other elders, "This brat only took 6 hours to break through to the second level of the Yuan Ancestor Realm. Furthermore, it was the hardest to break through to the second level of the Yuan Ancestor Realm. Why should we be so harsh on a junior like him?" Immediately, in the Temple Master's room, a group of Supreme Elders' eyes flickered, as if they had picked up a rare treasure. Everyone was secretly moved. If what Yenmia Tian had said was true, and Su Yi was really the enemy of the Long family, wouldn't that be even better? In the Temple Master's room, the old antiques were rubbing their palms and rubbing their fists. They were all talking at once, and their eyes were filled with satisfaction. No one knew how bitter Yenmia Tian's heart was as he held the window frame. He had spent 3 years to break through to the Yuan Ancestor Realm, but this brat had only used 2 or 3 days. Sigh. Yenmia Tian heaved a deep sigh and ordered the group of excited old fogies to leave, leaving him alone in the room, feeling dejected and depressed. In the cave, Su Yi opened his eyes. "I failed." He let out a long sigh of relief. This was the first time he had failed to break through since he had started cultivating. Su Yi patted the dust off his shoulders. Due to his successive breakthroughs and the complete refinement of the fire suppression heaven stone, his external injuries had all healed. His sparkling and translucent skin flickered with faint mysterious runes, which made him look rather mystical. He raised his eyes to look at Xiahong Lu and Tunten. Qi Feihong had also recovered and was stroking his beard with a smile. "It's already shocking that you broke through 2 levels of the Yuan Ancestor Realm consecutively. Now you want to break through to the Yuan Domain Realm in one go? Are you going to give others a way out?" Xiahong Lu raised his eyebrows slightly. Given his proud personality, this was already the highest praise he could give others. Chapter 23-25. Su Yi took a deep breath and formed a hand seal, slowly withdrawing his Yuan Qi. Sensing that the yuan qi in his body was once again flowing like a great river, his heavenly origin demon's soul blazed like the sun, its radiance dazzling. It seemed that his internal injuries in the pagoda flames had mostly recovered. "Yeah, kid, you're someone who came out from the sacred sea of flames. How long has it been? You've basically recovered." Qi Feihong rolled his eyes at the side, and he was obviously saying that Su Yi was insatiable. At this moment, Tunton turned into a black shadow and rushed into Su Yi's arms, saying intimately, "Master, you're so amazing. The pagoda flames was so deep, but you went down. I almost fainted from anger. Luckily, Goldie took care of me." "Goldie?" Su Yi followed Tunton's gaze and looked at Xiahong House. At this moment, Xiahong House stood out from the crowd, looking at Tunton with an incomparably gentle gaze as she explained to Su Yi. Previously, when Tunton had been seriously injured, Xiahong House had taken her away and used the power of the heaven-suppressing metal stone to heal her. In the memories of the heaven-suppressing stone, Xiahong House gradually recalled the days when she and Tunton roamed the world. Reuniting with an old friend naturally brought endless warmth. Gently stroking Tunton's round stone head, Su Yi came to a realization and said softly, "Your good friend's cultivation seems to have changed as well?" At this moment, Tunton and Qi Feihong also began to investigate the changes in Xiahong House's aura. Xiahong House nodded slightly and smiled. "It's all thanks to Tunton. The use of the heaven-suppressing stone has enlightened me. I reckon that in a few days, I'll be able to break through to the origin ancestor realm." Su Yi laughed heartily, looking at Xiahong House with a burning gaze. He said softly, "Metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, and thunder. There should be 7 heaven-suppressing stones in this world. Now that the two of us have 3, your cultivation will only be more magnanimous in the future. When you reach the peak of the martial way, you'll be intoxicated by the endless mountains and rivers." Xiahong Pavilion's pupils that were calm like water couldn't help but ripple with a trace of excitement when they heard this, and their battle intent surged while airflow swirled. "But kid, you snatched the fire-suppressing heaven stone in their territory. Although it was originally yours, I'm afraid those guys won't be so nice," Qi Feihong reminded him. Hearing this, Su Yi's heroic spirit calmed down a lot. His deep eyes flashed with a trace of seriousness. He said in a low voice, "If that's the case, go and explain it to Yan Mietian. If you want to take it, you have to rely on your own ability." Su Yi and Xiahong Lu returned to Su Chen's room. After 2 or 3 days of recuperation, Su Chen and Yan Lin had already woken up. When they saw Su Yi, the 3 of them were extremely excited. "Second brother, third brother." Su Yi was beaming with joy. The blood in his heart surged, as if he had returned to the sacred martial assembly that year. Su Yi looked at Yan Lin and couldn't help but click his tongue in wonder. The current Yan Lin had a natural wildness in his demonic charm, and his long hair added a bit of charm. Looking at Su Yi, Yan Lin returned to his shy appearance from before. "Fourth brother, it's all thanks to you under the sea of fire," Yan Lin said in a low voice. Su Yi waved his hand as light surged in his starry eyes. He said, "We're brothers, there's no need to say such words." "That's right, Yan Lin. I didn't expect you to be under the pagoda flames all this time. It took me a long time to find you." Su Chen chuckled as he patted Yan Lin's shoulder. The aura of the demon ancestor realm surged out, shocking everyone present. "Good boy, you either don't make a move or use a big move." Su Chen was even more surprised. Yan Lin's peerless strength made Su Chen's eyes light up. In an instant, Yan Lin became the focus of everyone present. His usually calm and reserved character made him feel somewhat embarrassed. "Second brother, there's something I want to tell you." Yan Lin's expression turned serious as he looked at Yan Lin. Soon after, Yan Lin told him about the pagoda iron token being destroyed by the fire-suppressing heavenly stone. As for the fire-suppressing heavenly stone under the sea of fire, Yen Lin didn't say it in front of everyone. Hearing this, Su Chen was startled at first. Then, he raised his head and shook it gently. He said in a low voice, "I don't care about these things anyway. I'm just afraid that my master will be heartbroken." Bullsh *T. I'm so petty? You brat, do you think you're diving? Jump in just like that. I haven't even scolded you yet, but you're talking about me behind my back. Outside the door, a domineering voice resounded in the air, and quickly came over. Master! Su Chen's eyes lit up as his heart rose to his throat. With a quiver, he stood up from the bed. At this moment, Yen Mietian walked into the room alone. Lan Xiaoyan, Xiahong House, and the others tactfully retreated. Only Su Yi, his brothers, and Yen Mietian were left in the room. Yen Mietian's eyes were bright as he looked at Su Chen. The corner of his mouth curled up slightly. Why did you stop? Master! Su Chen's face was bitter. Soon after, he sent a signal for help to Su Yi. Palace Master Yen. Su Yi was about to mediate the situation when Yen Mietian gestured for him to be silent. The flame patterns on his palm revolved and a huge flame pillar formed a sealed space in the room. Seeing this, Su Yi and his brothers frowned. It seemed that Yen Mietian wanted to talk business with them. Have you completely refined the fire-suppressing heavenly stone? After confirming that there was no aura spying on them, Yen Mietian glanced at Su Yi. His first sentence was so heavy. Since Yen Mietian had gotten straight to the point, Su Yi naturally didn't avoid it. He nodded heavily. These two simple sentences made Su Chen and Yen Lin fall silent. The heaven-suppressing heavenly stone was a top secret only between aristocratic families. The gold heaven-suppressing heavenly stone was enough to make aristocratic families fight for it for decades, let alone the equally powerful fire-suppressing heavenly stone. Suddenly, a trace of detectable shock surged in the depths of Yen Mietian's eyes. He said in surprise, "Tell me, what is underneath?" Slowly sitting down, Su Yi once again released a stream of immemorial demon qi, adding another weight to Yen Mietian's spatial restriction. In less than half an hour, under the sea of fire, the fire-scale heavenly beast sacrificed itself for the Thunder Fire Temple, and the heaven-suppressing heavenly stone that had been in the Thunder Fire Temple for tens of thousands of years. After hearing Su Yi's words, Yen Mietian was a little startled. His broad body sat on the back of the chair, lost in thought for a long time. "Palace Master Yen, I have said everything that needs to be said. If you still want to take the fire-suppressing heavenly stone from me, I, Su Yi, will accompany you." After saying that, Su Yi's killing intent surged. A cold light flashed in his eyes, and a majestic aura of desolation swept through the space. Suddenly, Yen Mietian smiled bitterly and looked at Su Chen, saying, This fire-scale heavenly beast is our temple's benefactor." Su Chen nodded. Thinking about how the fire-scale heavenly beast had saved their temple at the last moment, he also felt grateful. Chapter 23-26. Yen Mietian looked at Su Yi and said, "Our sacred hall has been in the pagoda flames for so long, and it's so close to the heaven-suppressing stone, but no one has obtained it in tens of thousands of years. This means that the heaven-suppressing stone is not fated to be with our Thunder Fire Sacred Hall. Now that you have it, how can I be as shameless as the Long family and snatch it from you?" Su Yi raised his head and looked at Yen Mietian, who immediately sat up straight. Back then, the 5 great families fought for the heaven-suppressing gold stone to protect themselves. The Sacred Hall can give up the heaven-suppressing gold stone, but the Long family can't take it either. The other families can't take it. When the Thunderfire Sacred Hall came to my generation, the Long family's ambition grew bigger and bigger. I can't take this lying down. "Temple Master, what are you trying to say?" Su Yi's eyes flickered. "I know that you and the Long family will fight, and I bet that you will win. The Yun family supports you, and so does the sacred hall. It's time to change the structure of the families. Everyone lives under Draconis ambition. It's too sullen. Regarding the heaven-suppressing stone, I hope that the sky barbarian continent will be peaceful, Yenmia Tian said in a low voice. Master. Hearing Yenmia Tian's words, Su Chen instantly became excited, and his eyes were filled with fighting spirit. Yenmia Tian's body trembled as he patted Su Chen and Yen Lin's shoulders. His eyes were burning as he looked at Yen Lin. Yen Lin, when Su Chen brought you in that day, the Sacred Hall did owe you. Senior Huolin's matter is the Thunderfire Sacred Hall's debt of gratitude. I, Yenmia Tian, will remember this in my heart. Yenmia Tian's words were very clear. The matter of Huolin and the heaven-suppressing stone could not be exposed. Especially not to the old antiques, otherwise, the Sacred Hall would be in an uproar. But Yenmia Tian would remember this debt of gratitude. Looking at Yenmia Tian, Su Yi was moved. He didn't expect Yenmia Tian, who had always been obsessed with martial arts, to say such words. However, on second thought, he was Su Chen's master. Su Chen had always been carefree and had no desires. In terms of personality, the two of them were quite compatible. Yenmia Tian was bold and unrestrained, but his every movement had the natural demeanor of a top expert. He was very meticulous. The patriarch of an aristocratic family was indeed extraordinary. After saying that, the flaming heavenly tiger's eyes lit up. He looked at Su Yi and said, Su Yi, you may have some reservations about my words, but I'm speaking from the bottom of my heart. I naturally want the fire-suppressing heaven stone. Now that the heaven-suppressing stone is yours, I can only give up on this thought. It's just that you can't stay in the Holy Hall for long. The old antiques in the Holy Hall aren't as understanding as I am. Instantly, Su Chen and Yen Lin shockingly stood by Su Yi's side. The three brothers had just met, yet they were going to be separated again? Fourth brother, do we really have to do it this quickly? Su Chen looked at Su Yi, her eyes filled with reluctance. A few years after the Sacred Martial Arts Assembly, the 5 famous brothers of the Central State separated and cultivated on their own. Now that they had finally met after going through so much difficulty and danger, it was time for them to part. Yenmia Tian was right. This time, the commotion in the Thunderfire Holy Hall was too big. If it weren't for Yenmia Tian blocking for him, it would be difficult for that group of old fogies to escape safely even if he recovered his full strength. Second brother, third brother, the battle with the Long family is about to begin. The situation is getting more and more serious. Now let's see who can endure it. Suddenly, Su Yi nodded bitterly. Then, a fiery light surged in his eyes again. Thinking about the upcoming battle with the Long family, Su Yi's body unconsciously erupted with a surging battle intent. Flames condensed in his eyes, filled with killing intent. Good. I, Su Chen, will participate in the battle. I'll wait for your fourth brother's command. After Su Chen finished speaking, he turned to look at Yen Lin, who had changed his appearance, and said in a low voice, Little Lin, do you want to stay in the Holy Hall or leave with fourth brother? Yen Lin frowned. A strand of elegant long hair brushed past his narrow eyes, revealing a fiery light. After hesitating for a while, Yen Lin looked at Su Yi. Third brother, what do you plan to do next? Su Yi raised his head and nodded. Speaking of which, he had originally left the Chaos Realm to go to the barbarian demon forest to pick up Shangguan Shiwei and the others and make preparations for the battle with the Long family. However, he didn't expect that after entering the Sky Sea City, subduing Tunton, and chasing Hu Qi, he would come to the Thunderfire Holy Hall. It could be said that one wave had not yet subsided, and another wave had arisen. The heavens seemed to be intentionally or unintentionally preventing him from returning to the barbarian demon forest. Su Yi laughed bitterly, and a trace of killing intent flashed through his jet black eyes. After capturing Hu Qi, He naturally had to go to the Divine Tiger continent to settle the score before picking up Shangguan Shiwei and the others. This time, the Divine Tiger sect and the Rain Song Palace, Lin Feiqian of the Rain Song Palace, had made a deal with Hu Qi behind her family's back. However, Hu Qi either had the Divine Tiger sect or the Long family behind him. The Divine Tiger sect must be destroyed. Hearing Su Yi's plan, Yan Lin's brows furrowed once again. Su Yi saw this scene, and Su Yi said with a smile, "Third brother, what I mean is that you should stay in the Holy Hall. The Thunderfire Holy Hall is a place where martial techniques transcend. Now that you have a half-demon body, you should properly polish yourself. You will definitely achieve something in the future." After saying this, the corners of Su Yi's mouth curled up slightly, and he said softly, "Our big brother is now at the 6th level of the Origin Ancestor stage." Suddenly, Su Chen and Yan Lin looked at each other, and their auras fluctuated violently. They originally thought that their growth speed was fast enough, but they did not expect their big brother, Merciless West, to advance by leaps and bounds at such a young age. It was simply unimaginable. What was more terrifying was that when the two of them heard that Little Commander was the Phoenix True God and had reached the 8th level of the Demon Domain realm, Su Chen and Yan Lin could not help but be speechless and gasp. "Both of you have to work harder to fight the Long family." On the side, Yan Mietian's brows sank, and his expression was solemn. "Fourth brother, I think I should accompany you to destroy the Divine Tiger sect first. Then both of us will rush back to cultivate in seclusion and wait for news of your battle." Su Chen looked at Yan Lin, and the latter nodded repeatedly with a shy smile on his handsome face. After thinking for a while, Su Yi nodded. Su Yi, the Divine Tiger sect, is the Long family's hired thug. If the Holy Hall appears directly, it will definitely alert the enemy. It's best for the Taiqing sect to take the lead. Both of you go with Xikong Tsangxing, and a portion of the Holy Hall's experts will follow. We must show Draconis our power. Okay. Yan Mietian's arrangement was exactly what they wanted. After a round of discussion, the four of them laughed heartily. When the Thunderfire Holy Hall brought Hu Qi back, Xiahong House, Duguyuma, and Lan Linglian raised their hands in agreement when they heard that they were going to destroy the Divine Tiger sect first. Taking advantage of the night, Killing Tiger's group of 6, including the incomparably terrifying Tunton, swiftly left the Thunderfire Temple. Chapter 23-27. When the great elders found that Su Yi had already left, the elders looked at the starry sky with regret. At this time, only Yan Mietian was sitting alone in his quiet room, sighing softly. Fire-suppressing sky stone. Draconis, it's worth exchanging it for your Long family. Immediately, Yan Mietian felt a heartache again. The 7 Killing Tiger team teleported back to the Taiqing continent from the Thunderfire Temple, but this time the feeling of arrival was different from the first time they visited the Taiqing sect. Because they had received the news from the Thunderfire Temple in advance, Qiu Nongfeng was extremely attentive and arranged everything. The Taiqing sect was overjoyed. Except for Qiu Nongfeng himself, no one knew that the reason why he was so attentive was that Su Yi and others had helped him a lot this time. He, who was not very smart, had already sat firmly on the throne of the Taiqing sect's heir after these storms. And all of this was thanks to Su Yi and others. The scene in the Taiqing sect was grand. Not only were all the elders of the Taiqing sect carefully prepared, but even the core disciples had been arranged at the foot of the mountain to wait day and night. As long as Su Yi and others arrived at the territory of the Taiqing sect, their food and clothing were all top-notch. Even if the current Su Yi didn't have to eat for a month, the enthusiasm of the Taiqing sect could be seen. The warm reception atmosphere made Su Yi and others, who had just returned to the Taiqing continent, feel a little flattered. The next day, the sky was clear, and the bright morning sun was like a sharp sword running through the world, illuminating the righteousness of the Taiqing sect. Sikong Tsangxing, who had received the news early, was very happy. He thought in his heart. Originally, he was invited to participate in the fire sacrificial ceremony this time, which had already made the Taiching sect, who was outside the temple, in fear and trepidation. He didn't expect that all thanks to Su Yi, the Taiching sect not only solved his crisis, but also saved the temple. This had already made the Thunderfire Holy Temple acknowledge the existence of the Taiching sect as an external sect. Now, Hall Master Yen of the Thunderfire Temple personally ordered the Taiching sect to cooperate with Su Yi to harvest the Divine Tiger sect. He even said that there would be the help of the powerhouse of the temple. Wasn't this great news? The Divine Tiger sect bullied him. Now, not only did someone vent his anger for him, but it also gave the Taiching sect a chance to quickly rise to the top. It was simply a good fortune. Therefore, these 2 days, Sikong Tsangxing's face was brimming with an extremely happy smile, making the disciples in the sect almost think that the sect master got some laughing sickness. Looking at the cloudless sky, Sikong Tsangxing had never been so eager to have guests visit the Taiching sect. In front of the huge Taiching hall, almost all the elite disciples that the sect had focused on training were standing respectfully in a line. In front of the hall, not only the deacon elder, but even the grand elder also stood motionless. Their gazes were solemn as they waited for Su Yi and the others to arrive. At the scene, only these disciples were confused. Who was it that would cause the sect master and the elders to be so enthusiastic? Soon, Sikong Tsangxing's eyes lit up. The vigorous Tai Ching Chi resounded in the sky and shook the world. His high-pitched voice was mixed with extreme excitement. Tsangxing welcomes everyone! Walala! Following the deafening sound, countless eyes looked at the celestial pole in unison, only to see 7 powerful auras breaking through the sky. The young man in the lead had gentle and deep eyes. His green robe fluttered in the wind, and the unparalleled strong wind even set off space ripples that spread wantonly in the surrounding air. Light surged around the bodies of the 7 people. As soon as they approached, an incomparably huge soul pressure surged over like a tidal wave. Boom! Like 7 divine sons and goddesses descending to the world, countless Taiching sect disciples present had goosebumps. Their mouths were wide open, and they couldn't close their mouths for a long time. No one would have thought that there were such powerful young men in the world. They were all in their 20s, but each one was more powerful than the other. Countless admiring eyes swept across the Xiahong house's arrogance and coldness to Duguyuma's transcendence. While their hearts were fluttering, monstrous waves had already been set off in their hearts. Their eyes were all dumbfounded. That divine son in yellow, although he is a little old, how can he be so handsome? The golden aura exuding from his body is so heroic. The 2 goddesses are also very beautiful. Their skin is as smooth as jade, and their cultivation is also unfathomable. No, the one in the middle is the most handsome. The deep eyes under the black hair is an absolute powerhouse. His aura is even stronger than the elders. Many people's eyes froze. As the crowd got closer and closer, their excited breathing began to quicken. As the 7 people crossed over their heads and headed toward the main hall, all the disciples present felt a bone-piercing pressure that penetrated deep into their bones. As the protagonists, Su Yi and others looked indifferent. When Su Yi glanced at the others, they all showed a kind of embarrassment. Is this the feeling I had when I looked at those top powerhouses before? Facing countless horrified gazes, Su Yi and the others quickly arrived in front of Sikong Tsangxing, greeted him with an embarrassed expression, and then quickly headed towards Taiching Hall. Are those the people who went to the Fire Evil Gang with us? After Su Yi and others left, someone finally recognized Lan Xiaoyan and Duguyuma, and they couldn't help but be shocked. In an instant, more and more disciples who participated in the Earth Fire Island came back to their senses, and their faces changed. In the end, a disciple couldn't help but take a mouthful of saliva and said softly, "How do these people cultivate?" Suddenly, all the Tai Ching sect disciples looked at each other in horror, and a lonely voice resounded through the sky. After entering the Tai Ching hall, according to the arrangement of Yanmietian, Sikong Tsangxing roughly told his plan to Su Yi. Because the Divine Tiger continent was not like the Tai Ching continent, there were many sects on the Divine Tiger continent, and the largest ones were the Divine Tiger sect and the Rain Song Palace. As the second largest force, the Rain Song Palace had always been competing with the Divine Tiger sect. "So we can push all the bad water to the Divine Tiger sect. Lin Feiqian was used by Hu Qi, and the Tai Ching sect will join forces with the Song Yu Palace to suppress the Divine Tiger sect." Qiu Nongfeng smiled and followed Sikong Tsangxing's words to Su Yi and others. "Kid, your brain is getting more and more active." Su Yi smiled knowingly. A thought suddenly came to his mind. Don't provoke an honest person. Qiu Nongfeng was like this, and so was Yen Lin. This time, the Divine Tiger sect dared to humiliate our Tai Ching sect. The residents thousands of miles around the Earth Fire Island were displaced, and their vitality was greatly damaged. This time, our Tai Ching sect must win back. Qiu Nongfeng frowned coldly, and a strong killing intent swept through the air. Looking at Qiu Nongfeng, Sikong Tsangxing gritted his teeth. Thinking of the tragic scene near the Earth Fire Island, an indescribable hatred surged in his heart. Chapter 23-28. That's right. Nongfeng's words are also my thoughts. Although we can't touch the Long family for the time being, we will start with the Divine Tiger sect. Whether Shangguan Xinjua knows about Hu Qi sneaking into the temple or not, these people have to die. Su Yi nodded. The Divine Tiger sect and the Sky Dragon sect would take turns to nibble away at the Long clan. That would be the time to devour the Long clan. This time, Su Yi wanted to make a show of strength and send a signal to the Long family. At the same time, Su Yi had a bad premonition in his heart. The 5-year agreement between him and Akatsuki was getting closer and closer, and his heart was getting more and more restless. In the Battle of Upper Dragon Village and Sky Sea City, he had killed a lot of Long family members. The Long family was hiding behind him until now, and it was still the Sky Dragon sect and the Divine Tiger sect who were venting their anger. Could Draconis really calm? Sect Master Sikong, let's end this quickly, so as to avoid trouble. Thinking of this, Su Yi immediately stood up, and a burst of fighting spirit shot out. Under the command of Sikong Tsangxing, a huge Tai Ching army was quickly established. Not only was it formed by the Tai Ching sect, but all the sects of the Tai Ching continent who listened to the orders of the Tai Ching sect basically joined in this team. In addition to the Tiger Slayer group and the powerhouses of the Thunder Temple who came later, this team was much fiercer than the team that destroyed the Nine Stars Valley and the Blood Sun sect. Adhering to the principle of using peaceful means before resorting to force, Su Yi and Sikong Tsangxing first came to the Rain Song Manor where the Rain Song Palace was located. The Rain Song Manor was filled with the fragrance of flowers after the rain. The spiritual energy was moving, and it added a bit of unique charm of women. As everyone knew, the Rain Song Manor was a well-known all-female sect in the Divine Tiger continent. When Sikong Tsangxing and Su Yi came to the manor, countless pairs of murderous eyes were secretly cast on the two of them. As the saying goes, 3 women make a play. There were so many women in the Rain Song Manor, and it was enough to shake half the sky. The martial artists here seemed to be very unfriendly to men. Su Yi shrugged his shoulders, and together with Sikong Tsangxing, followed the Rain Song disciples to the manor's assembly hall. Along the way, Su Yi's gaze was fixed in front of him. A domineering pressure flowed out, and for no reason, one could hear the sound of many people sucking in cold breath. Sikong Tsangxing, on the other hand, faintly smiled. His kind face surged with a trace of undetectable killing intent. Sikong Tsangxing glanced at the aura beside him and said in a low voice, "Try peaceful means before resorting to force." If this Mo Inu's attitude is arrogant, then we can wipe out the godly tiger continent and merge the Tai Ching and godly tiger continents. Hearing this, Su Yi was speechless. Sure enough, it was nice to be under a big tree. The Tai Ching sect, which originally cultivated their moral character, now had the support of the Thunder Flame Temple. They were angered by others, and they actually had such great courage. While they were talking, Su Yi and Su Li arrived at the assembly hall. The hall was full of strange flowers. There was an ancient charm in the faint fragrance. The colorful flowers implied the unique soul array of the Rain Song Palace. This kind of small trick was naturally not very powerful in front of Su Yi and Sikong Tsangxing. With a wave of their hand, they cracked the array in front of them. Sitting upright, Su Yi and Sikong Tsangxing sat for a while, and a graceful woman moved out of the inner room. She was about 35 years old. Her clear eyes were full of hope. She had a majesty and domineering beyond her age. There were 3 bright purple outlines on each side of her temples, which added a heroic aura. This is Mo Inu. In recent years, the Rain Song Palace has been thriving in the godly tiger continent under her leadership. Therefore, the Rain Song Palace has also changed its sect name after her. Sikong Tsangxing said in a low voice. Hearing this, Su Yi finally understood why Lin Feiqian wanted to cooperate with the godly tiger sect so deliberately. Within the Rain Song Palace, a valiant sect leader like Mo Inu had always suppressed Lin Feiqian. As long as Mo Inu was around, Lin Feiqian would never be able to stand out. As a sect that participated in the Heavenly Wind ranking tournament, Su Yi had naturally seen the Rain Song Palace. However, after a period of time, Su Yi's cultivation had improved. His appearance was much more resolute and delicate than before. Therefore, he was at ease and dared to show his true appearance. When Mo Inu walked out, her gaze swept past Sikong Tsangxing. However, she did not put Su Yi in her eyes in the slightest. Sect leader Sikong, since you have time to come to my Rain Song Palace today, Inu is extremely anxious. Mo Inu flung her purple robe and sat down majestically. A faint fragrance was seductive. Immediately, Su Yi narrowed his eyes and sized up the female sect leader in front of him. 4th level origin ancestor realm. In a second-rate sect, her strength was considered to be not bad. Sikong Tsangxing nodded slightly and tried his best to suppress the anger in his heart. He told Mo Inu about the godly tiger sect and the Rain Song Palace. Bang! The fragrance of the flower assaulted his nose. A majestic origin ancestor realm aura fluctuated out. Suddenly, a huge, strange flower shadow exploded in front of him. After the spatial ripples spread out, Mo Inu had already arrived in front of Sikong Tsangxing and said angrily, "How is that possible? Feiqian is the junior sister that I've brought up since she was young. How could she do such a thing? You may know a person for a long time without understanding their true nature. Palace Master Mo should know this principle, right?" Su Yi sneered in a low voice. When he thought of Lin Feiqian's bad attitude towards those villagers who were mining that day, his gaze could not help but become fierce. "Who are you?" Hearing this, Mo Inu finally noticed Su Yi. Looking at Su Yi's eyes that were so deep that they seemed to have no end and were like an abyss, Mo Inu's heart suddenly shook and her mind became somewhat empty. Looking at Su Yi's age, Mo Inu's mind became absent-minded again. Her beautiful face slightly moved and her slightly shocked eyes seemed to be saying, how could such a young person have such pressure? "Who I am is not important. There is only one path in front of you, and that is to cooperate with us to destroy the Divine Tiger sect." Su Yi fixed his gaze on Mo Inu. His gaze was as cold as an underground ice cave. Mo Inu smiled slightly. It was the first time she was threatened by a young man in his early 20s. She looked at Sikong Tsangxing with a gloomy gaze, but the latter did not say anything. The doubt in Mo Inu's heart grew stronger as she whispered, "What if I don't agree? Then you've chosen to ally with the Long family. You can only die with the Divine Tiger sect." Sui said every word clearly. His cold voice shot out with a heavy force, immediately causing Mo Inu's eyes to tremble. "Who are you?" Facing such a terrifying pressure, Mo Inu was very curious and took 2 steps back. Looking at Sui, Mo Inu's dignified eyes shone with a cold light. It was hard to imagine that there was actually such a young martial artist who was so powerful. Immediately, Sui suppressed the rage and killing intent in his heart. A cold intent quickly flashed across his face as he whispered, "Sui!" Bang! Mo Inu's gaze carefully swept over Suyi's face and vaguely matched it with the young god from Tianfeng. Suddenly, her pupils couldn't help but contract. She looked at Sikong Tsangxing again. At this time, Sikong Tsangxing had already thrown the unconscious Hu Qi on the ground. The whole place was silent. In a moment, Mo Inu's lips unconsciously trembled. A trace of shock flashed through her hesitant face. She said to Sui, "Sect Master Su, I'm willing to help you." A powerful woman who had brought Song Yu Palace to 2nd place in the Divine Tiger continent immediately realized that this was an excellent opportunity. Taking a step forward, Mo Inu said, "I'm willing to join you. Become a member of the Bawang sect." Chapter 23-29. A member of the Bawang sect. As soon as Mo Inu's voice fell, Sikong Tsangxing's eyes also trembled. He then looked sideways at Sui with a slightly complicated gaze. Listening to Mo Inu's answer, Sui raised his eyes and said, "You are a smart person, Sect Master Mo." Immediately, he paused slightly. For Mo Inu's decisive character, Suyi's heart surged with a trace of appreciation. Mo Inu's eyes were glittering, and the gaze she cast at Sui had been replaced by admiration. She whispered, "To be honest, Inu has also been waiting for an opportunity. Waiting for an opportunity to reach the peak of Divine Tiger Continent. I didn't expect it to be bestowed by Sect Master Su." Suddenly, Sui nodded and said solemnly, "Since the words have been said, we can talk about the next step of the plan. According to my plan, once we reach the peak of the Divine Tiger Continent, even changing the Divine Tiger Continent will be as easy as flipping my hand." Hearing the words, Mo Inu's beautiful eyes narrowed slightly. She raised her chin slightly in excitement. She looked at Sui with some hesitation and said, "Sect Master Su, where is the body of my rebellious junior sister, Lin Feiqian?" Sui pouted his lips at Hu Qi and whispered, "She became his scapegoat and was buried in the sea of fire." Looking at Hu Qi, Mo Inu gradually turned her back. Her eyebrows were knitted tightly. After a long time, she sighed and said to Sui and Sikong Tsangxing, "You two, come in and talk in detail." In the next day, all the powerhouses of the Taiqing sect used the Rain Song Villa as their stronghold. The hundreds of thousands of powerhouses filled the Rain Song Palace with a sea of people. The Rain Song Palace had always been a quiet and elegant female sect. Suddenly, so many foreign martial artists came, which made these young women of the Rain Song Palace somewhat uncomfortable. That night, Mo Inu held a banquet in the Rain Song Villa and discussed in detail with Sui about the crusade against the Divine Tiger sect the next day. At the banquet, Mo Inu acted as the host. Everyone was peaceful, but there was a hidden killing intent in the atmosphere. Sui, Xiahong House, and the others felt a sense of urgency as if a great battle was imminent. At this moment, Mo Inu, who was sitting at the head of the table, also had a solemn expression on his face. "Sovereign!" An urgent voice broke the joy of the banquet. A Rain Song Palace disciple rushed in like lightning from outside the door. At first glance, one could see that it was the disciple who usually guarded the mountain gate. When the guard disciple handed over the Vitality Stone letter to Mo Inu, the latter's expression changed dramatically as he looked at Su-yi. What happened? Su-yi asked with a frown. Shangguan has invited me to the Divine Tiger sect. Mo Inyu threw the Vitality Stone letter in front of Su-yi. Soon, the Vitality Stone lit up. It was Shangguan notes. Sitting beside Su-yi, Sikong Tsangxing narrowed his eyes and whispered to Su-yi, "What is this guy planning?" Phew! Taking a deep breath, Su-yi immediately looked at Mo Inyu and said with a smile, "Go. Of course we'll go. We'll give him a big gift tonight." "You mean? Tonight?" Mo Inyu's eyes lit up. Even if he was willing, wasn't this speed too fast? Shangguan must have known about Hu Qi and Lin Feiqian. He must have come to you to fight against the foreign enemy, the Taiqing sect. Now that they are unprepared, it would be a waste if we don't attack. Su-yi stood up, his eyes were cold and dazzling. That's right, Sovereign Mo Shangguan would never have thought that we have the support of the Divine Palace and the entire Taiqing continent. He would never have thought that there are Heaven's Pride Emperors and Holy Emperors here. Fairy will definitely win this battle. Sikong Tsangxing laughed wildly, his old eyes full of splendor. Sovereign Mo, Sovereign Su is right. Let's attack tonight. Let's start tonight. Kill them all. Let the Divine Tiger sect pay the price. Following the echoes of Xiahong House, Lan Balian, and the others, the 1,000-meter-long team responded loudly. The sound of wind sweeping away the clouds resounded through heaven and earth, driving the nearby flying beasts far away. Immediately, Mo Inyu's battle intent and killing intent surged. She bit her tender red lips and said with a serious expression, "Then let's attack from the inside and the outside. Tonight. Tiger exterminating army, move out!" Roar. Move out! Hundreds of thousands of martial artists raised the wine cups in their hands. Countless rays of tyrannical vitality formed a colorful net, dazzling and dazzling. Tonight, Inyu Manor, no sleep. After some discussion, it was finally decided that Mo Inyu, Su-yi, Lan Balian, and the rest of the Tiger exterminating army would follow Mo Inyu into the Divine Tiger sect. Sikong Tsangxing and hundreds of thousands of Taiqing sect martial artists were lying in ambush in all directions of the Divine Tiger sect, directly exterminating the disciples of the Divine Tiger sect. There were a total of 24 experts from the Thunder Fire Temple, lying in ambush in 8 directions. There were 3 experts in each direction to ensure that no one was left alive. Soon after, without stopping, Su-yi and the others, along with Mo Inyu, turned into traces of Yuan Qi and disappeared into the void. The few of them rushed to the door of the Divine Tiger sect. What they needed to do was to delay the migration and assassination of the main force as much as possible. In front of the Divine Tiger sect, a disciple with profound cultivation looked cautiously at Su-yi and the rest behind Mo Inyu. Sect Leader Mo, Eternal Tiger Sect Leader, has been waiting for a long time, but there are too many people. At most you can bring 2 more guards in. At this time, Su-yi and the rest had restrained their aura and changed into ordinary clothes. Mo Inyu nodded slightly and immediately ordered Su-yi and Lan Balian to follow her in. She ordered the rest to wait outside the door. Act according to the circumstances. Zhuanglu lowered the brim of her hat and said to Duguyuma and the rest in a deep voice. At this moment, Duguyuma nodded. Since they couldn't enter the Divine Tiger sect, they simply walked out of the palace with Zhuanglu and the rest, avoiding eye contact to avoid attracting attention with their unique pupils. The moon tonight is especially cold, Shuchen said leisurely, lazily picking up a weed. Yen Lin, who was beside him, didn't say a word, cautiously observing the changes in the Divine Tiger sect. Let's go and help sect leader Sikong and the rest. Zhuanglu's eyes were cold, deep in the cold night. Divine Tiger Secret Chamber. Divine Tiger Sect. Su-yi had previously disguised himself as the Ghost Poison Elder to come here. However, at that time, he was here to punish Shangguan Shenhua and also to cheat the Divine Tiger sect of many 6-star vitality stone crystal boxes. However, this time, Su Yi was here to exterminate the sect. Along the way, Su Yi tried his best to suppress the anger in his heart and withdrew his vitality into the Great Void Spirit Sea. In order to delay time, Su Yi couldn't reveal his identity for the time being. "Master, when will you come out? Let me know." Tuntun's voice was weak as she looked at Su Yi's chin. Through the conversation, Tuntun already knew what the Divine Tiger sect did. As long as anyone angered Su Yi, Tuntun would immediately kill without mercy. Chapter 2330. Soon Mo Inu, Su Yi, and the others came to a small clean room. Shangguan Juahu stood with his hands behind his back. The light in the clean room was dim, and it could be seen that Shangguan Juahu was very haggard. "Sect Master Juahu, why did you ask Inu to come here in the middle of the night?" Mo Inu looked at Shangguan Juahu's back, and her cold voice quickly spread in the clean room. "Sect Master Inu, I asked you to come here in the middle of the night because I have something to discuss with you. I won't hide it from you now. The Taiching sect is about to attack." As he turned around, Shangguan Juahu's swollen eyes and silver-white hair made him look even older than Qi Feihong. He was completely different from the high-spirited man he had been during the Heavenly Wind ranking tournament. Su Yi stood behind him and observed the tired and haggard Shangguan Juahu through the wide hood of his robe. There was only endless sneer and coldness in his heart. His youngest son, Shangguan Shenhua, had his cultivation destroyed in front of everyone and became a useless person. His eldest son, Shangguan Tianhua, had been directly killed by him. Any father would have aged overnight after receiving such a blow. However, this was not enough to make Su Yi feel guilty. "Why? We have always minded our own business with the Taiching sect. How could this be?" Mo Inu pretended to be surprised and looked at Shangguan Juahu in shock. Shangguan Juahu's eyes swept over Su Yi and Lan Balian, and then quickly moved away without any doubt. Sect Master Mo didn't find anything wrong with the Inu Palace at this time? With a long sigh, Shangguan Juahu's mouth began to twitch slightly. He glanced at Mo Inu with a trace of fierceness in his eyes. Facing Shangguan Juahu's probing, Mo Inu stretched out her jade hand and tapped her chin. "If there's really something wrong, it should be that Feiqian, who went out, hasn't returned yet." Suddenly, Shangguan Juahu's eyes lit up. He stared at Mo Inu and said with a twisted face, "Sect Master Mo really noticed something? What do you mean?" Suddenly, Mo Inu's body leaned slightly behind Su Yi, secretly making a gesture to signal that he was ready. "Recently, I also found out that some elders of the sect went to the border of the Shenhu continent to mine and quarry, which caused the surrounding earth fire to expand. I also recently received news that the Taiching sect will come to kill us soon." Shangguan Juahu said with a deep gaze. "What does that have to do with my Inu Palace and Feiqian?" Inu continued to ask. "As far as I know, at the border of the Divine Tiger continent, there were traces of my sect's elders and your sect's Lin Feiqian." Inus use words as us Inus sect. "Therefore, I have invited sect leader Mo here today because I want to unite with you against a common enemy and defend against an external enemy." Shangguan Juahu shook his robe. His eyes were sharp as he made a solemn vow to Mo Inu. Suddenly, Mo Inu paused slightly. She looked at Shangguan Juahu and said, "Wait, why is Feiqian with the elder of your sect? Besides, it's not right for the elder of your sect to go out without your permission, right?" Suddenly, the room was quiet. Shangguan Juahu's pupils shrank half an inch in an instant, but he immediately became friendly again. "In that case, I won't hide it from Sect Master Mo. The elder of my sect was indeed appointed by me. Because I received news that a secret treasure was hidden under an island group called the Fire Evil Island. I didn't expect that it would cause such a huge trouble. What about Feiqian? Why didn't I see her? Mo Inyu's voice also became dignified. It was ridiculous that Shangguan Juehu was still lying through his teeth. She died. This is all the fault of the Taiqing sect, Shangguan Juehu said in pain. What? Although Mo Inyu had known it for a long time, she still couldn't hide her anger after hearing it from Shangguan Juehu. At this time, a cold and heavy voice came from behind Mo Inyu. Sect Master Juehu, what evidence do you have to say that it was the Taiqing sect that killed her and not your elder? Su Yi's voice was slightly angry. His trembling vocal cords showed that Su Yi had been trying to control the anger in his heart. Suddenly, Shangguan Juehu was slightly startled. His eyes were as deep and bitter as an eagle's. He said angrily, Sect Master Mo, do you need to discipline the beast under your command? Hearing this, Mo Inyu turned pale with fright. He was frightened by Shangguan Juehu's arrogant words. He hurriedly said, He's right. Sect Master Juehu, please give my Inyu Palace a perfect explanation. Explanation? Then I'll tell you the truth. The Earth Fire Island is actually related to the Thunderflame Temple. The movement is too big. The elders in my sect have also died. If Lin Feiqian's death was not caused by the Taiqing sect, who else could it be? Mo Inyu snorted softly. Her eyes were fixed on Shangguan Juehu's acting in front of her. The Taiqing sect has always been on good terms with others. You naturally know that this time, the Thunderfire Temple must be behind them. Now the situation is urgent. My Divine Tiger sect is gone, and you, Lin Feiqian, are also involved. The Inyu Palace must help. Shangguan Juehu's eyes were cold. He snorted coldly and immediately turned his back to Mo Inyu. No wonder you want to drag Feiqian into this. This is forcing my Inyu Palace to wallow in the mire. Feiqian is really stupid. Mo Inyu was very angry. The Divine Tiger sect's sinister intentions had all been defeated. She suddenly felt a pain in her heart. It's okay if you don't help, but you can't change sides and help the Taiqing sect. Shangguan Juehu's resentful face revealed a trace of cunning. Suddenly, Mo Inyu angrily scolded Shangguan Juehu and whispered, Aren't you secretly in contact with the Long family? Why, they have the support of the Thunderfire Temple. Can't you go to the Long family for support? That's right. With such a despicable act, even if the Long family knew, they would not help you openly. Sect Master Mo knows a lot. That's right, the Earth Fire Island was leaked to me by the Long family. Tomorrow, I will invite the experts of the Long family to come over. As long as we survive this time, when the Divine Tiger sect and the Taiqing continent merge, who will know what happened on the Fire Demon Island? Shangguan Juehu was not afraid of Mo Inyu's words. A murderous coldness spread in the room. Mo Inyu snorted angrily. Looking at Shangguan Juehu's back, she scolded. Letting you be the #1 force of the Divine Tiger continent is really a disgrace to my Inyu Palace. After getting a positive answer, Mo Inyu retreated. Shangguan Juehu, do you think this person knows what happened on the Earth Fire Island? Sui estimated that it was about time. Looking at Shangguan Juehu's back, he coldly said. Suddenly, Shangguan Juehu turned his head and saw Sui carrying Hu Qi, who was covered in blood. Chapter 23:31. When Sui and Lan Balian slowly took off their hoods, Shangguan Juehu's entire body seemed to have turned sluggish. Fear quickly flashed across his face. Sui. Looking at Su Yi's face, Shangguan Juehu's expression was extremely interesting. From shock to anger, a hysterical roar burst out from Shangguan Juehu's throat. The hatred of his son being crippled and killed quickly ignited the nerves in Shangguan Juehu's brain. Surging origin domain realm origin chi suddenly erupted. The terrifying energy turned into a huge phantom of a tiger's head that quickly charged towards Su-yi and the other two. Scatter! Su-yi shouted. In the narrow secret room, Su-yi, Mo-inu, and Lon Balian simultaneously retreated. They pushed their hands forward, and 3 fierce energy rings rushed out and collided with the phantom of the white tiger. Boom! The huge energy exploded in the void. The fierce energy waves collided with the stone walls of the secret room, and traces of visible purple-gold light quickly flowed out. At this moment, Shangguan Juehu's figure had already disappeared in the chaos. Outside the secret room, Shangguan Juehu's wild laughter was majestic and fierce. It quickly spread into the secret room. Su-yi, I wanted to confine Mo in you. I didn't expect you to follow me. Then, all of you will be buried with my son, Tianjua. Su-yi, you brat, I want you to die without a burial place. As his laughter drifted away, the violent aura around Shangguan Juehu's body turned into a boundless wave that slowly dispersed. Su-yi, this secret room seems to be made of a special crystal. That attack just now has already blasted out the poison in the secret room. If we don't get out, we will definitely be poisoned. Lon Balian looked at Su-yi with an incomparably serious expression. A trace of dizziness had already appeared in her mind. Bang bang! The purple-gold light range was getting smaller and smaller. Su-yi looked up and a chill quickly spread in his heart. Very good. The Divine Tiger sect admitted that they knew about this matter. Now, the Taiching sect can openly slaughter the sect. In an instant, Su-yi raised his eyebrows and threw down his hood, revealing his frightening green robe. A black stream of light flew out from his chest and illuminated the world. Suddenly, the terrifying demonic aura of the 9th-layer demon domain realm filled the secret room. Lei Yun's eyes were incomparably fiery, and his voice was incomparably heroic. Master, the desolate devouring heaven beast listens to your command. When Mo Inu's eyes, his whole body trembled, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. His cheese's face's eyes was waiting for his, to shatter this place, begin slaughtering the S. His yeez's bodies was S bodies' twos boom. SSS. His S's. S. Juong S. S. SS. S's bang bang bang. All of a sudden, the Divine Tiger Palace behind him trembled as if there was an earthquake. Rocks flew everywhere and smoke and dust spread everywhere. At night, the stars scattered across the sky. An indescribable cold wind suddenly blew through the tranquil world, and it was miserable and obscure. In the distance, on top of the ink-blue mountain peak, large patches of dark clouds quickly condensed, and a dangerous aura of a storm swept through the wilderness. Boom! A series of deafening sonic booms resounded through the huge Divine Tiger sect. It was so loud that it seemed to resound through the heavens and the earth. At this time, Shangguan Juehu's smile was still frozen on his face. When he turned around, he saw the most terrifying scene of his life. The devilishly charming Su-yi soared through the air, his black hair fluttering in the wind, and his surging aura was like a tidal wave that surged through the sky. It was peerlessly overbearing, like a god of death that had descended to judge the ants of the world. The terrifying aura of a 9th-level origin emperor surged out without any reservation. He crossed his arms and stood on top of Tuntun's palms, looking mighty. Shangguan Ju's eyes were filled with boundless fear and anger as he thought about the tiger pool. He said furiously, "Is it you again this time? I'm going to kill you." Ignoring Shangguan Juehu, a ray of moonlight shone on Su-yi's body, and his cold voice slowly sounded. "Tuntun, destroy the Divine Tiger sect." Su-yi's eyes were downcast, and a ruthless light shot out from the corner of his eyes. It was biting cold to the extreme. Suddenly, Tuntun's body expanded, and it was like a soul-stirring giant mountain that occupied the Divine Tiger sect. With a kick, a large number of houses in the Divine Tiger sect were turned into ruins. The houses that stretched for thousands of miles were simply insignificant in front of Tunton. At the same time, Tunton's thundercloud eyes shot out 2 rays of lightning, and a vigorous voice surged in all directions. The surging sound waves spread to every corner of the Divine Tiger sect. The voice was like a thunderstorm, and it started the prelude to the annihilation of the Divine Tiger sect. Bloody battle. Begin. Tunton's voice reverberated through the heaven and earth, and the sound waves surged through the forest. Chi-la. Suddenly, lightning shot through the heaven and earth like a violent dragon that swept through the void. Countless palaces and temples were abruptly set ablaze, and the scorching temperature quickly broke the tranquility of the night. At this moment, the gloomy Divine Tiger sect was no longer silent. The nearby forest finally erupted with a ferocious yuan qi light that was like the sea. Hundreds of thousands of killing intents gathered together, and the Divine Tiger sect instantly turned into a bloody purgatory. Shangguan-Juahu, who was frightened to the point of collapse by the scene before him, sucked in a breath of cold air. Through the flames, he could only watch as the 9th-level demon domain realm Tunton wantonly trampled on the Divine Tiger sect. Bang bang! The giant trampled on the ground, and everywhere it passed, withered trees and ruins. Sect leader! Save me, sect leader! What the hell is going on? Hearing such a commotion, all the experts and elders of the Divine Tiger sect, as well as the elite disciples of the various palaces, flew out from the Divine Tiger sect. Many of the Divine Tiger sect's disciples were still in their sleep, and they were directly turned into meat paste without any pain. Su-yi, do you think that you can destroy my Divine Tiger sect with just your experts and the Rainsong Palace? Shangguan-Juahu's gaze was gloomy, and his body unconsciously twitched. Boom! Tunton stood still, and its thundercloud eyes crazily released a monstrous pressure, which attracted the attention of everyone present and made their hair stand on end. Shangguan-Juahu, there is one thing you need to understand. Today is not a personal grudge between you and me, but because you provoked the Taiching sect. The Taiching sect is looking for you to settle accounts. Su Yi's gaze was lazy, and his cold gaze was aimed at Shangguan-Juahu. Suddenly, Shangguan-Juahu seemed to have sensed something. He looked around and saw that the endless martial artists in the sky had already eaten up the Divine Tiger sect like locusts. Looking from afar, there were black crowds everywhere in the depths of the dark blue forest. There were hundreds of thousands of people, and it was definitely not just the Taiching sect. Shangguan-Juahu, how dare you? You actually came to the Taiching sect to dig a hole. Today, I will let your Divine Tiger sect feel the taste of being burned by fire. Chapter 2332. As he spoke, Sikong Tsangxing let out a roar. Pure qi shot out from his palm, and ink-blue spatial ripples instantly appeared in the surrounding space. Recognizing who it was, Shangguan-Juahu's eyes froze. His heart began to beat wildly, and his body seemed to be petrified. Today, the Divine Tiger sect would not be able to escape this disaster. Sect Master, what should we do? All the peaks of the Divine Tiger sect have been surrounded by them. Yes, we are surrounded everywhere. The only ones who can resist are the people from the Divine Tiger Palace. There are less than 1,000 of them. Beside him, countless experts who had completely sobered up had solemn expressions. The supreme elders of the Divine Tiger sect had also gathered beside Shangguan-Juahu at this moment. Shangguan-Juahu closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He said to Su-yi, "Su-yi, you destroyed my Divine Tiger sect today. Tomorrow, the heavenly barbarians will definitely make a move. You can imagine the consequences. You are digging your own grave." The corner of Su-yi's mouth twitched. So what if the Long family guessed it? He raised his head and looked at Shangguan Juahu. He spread his hands and said, "You provoked the enemy, and the enemy killed you. How can you blame me? Did I make a move? Who will know when the time comes?" Hearing this, Shangguan Juahu's last shred of dignity seemed to have been crushed. His face was ashen. He said to Sui, "I will bear the responsibility for my mistakes. Can you let the Divine Tiger sect go?" Sui did not say a word. He looked at the hundreds of thousands of Taiching sect disciples who were in a panic and only said one sentence. "Do you think you can do it?" Su Yi's eyes flickered. "I can't." The energy swept across the sky. The people of the Rain Palace and the Taiching continent were scattered all over the sky. They were excited and shouted loudly. The roars that reached the sky were like dragons circling the world. Just the sound waves alone were enough to destroy all living things. Sui shrugged his shoulders and said helplessly, "I'm sorry. I'm a person who convinces the masses." With that, Sui floated out of Tuntun's palm with a solemn expression on his face. He took a step forward and said in a low voice, "I'll pay you the interest for what you did to Yao Luo Mountain and Tian Yao School. I'll settle the rest with the Sky Dragon sect and the Long family." At this time, Shangguan Juahu, who was almost paralyzed in the void, suddenly trembled. He looked at Su Yi's face from afar and was speechless for a long time. Qi-la, suddenly, Su Yi's figure disappeared. His body was shrouded in light, and a majestic demonic aura spread between heaven and earth. A huge majestic aura filled the air. At this moment the entire place fell silent. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Sui. Everyone knew that Sui was going to give the Divine Tiger sect the final blow. Die! In a short instant, unparalleled fire attribute energy gushed out from Su Yi's body. His attack power was not the slightest bit inferior to a Yuan domain expert's, causing Shangguan Ju's eyes to nearly pop out of their sockets. "Sect Master, leave quickly!" The elders of the Divine Tiger sect roared and shot Yuan Qi in Shangguan Juahu's direction. Bang bang! In an instant, Sikong Tsangxing and Snow Red House blew. Eslian also burst out with Yuan Qi light. The surrounding Yuan Qi rapidly surged, and two extremely majestic energies exploded out of thin air. Bang bang! The shockwave that pierced through space spread across heaven and earth. Divine light instantly illuminated the Divine Tiger sect as if it was daytime. The energy swept across heaven and earth. In an instant, the palace at the center of the Divine Tiger sect turned into nothingness and scattered. Bang bang! The turbulent fluctuations with unstoppable force caused everyone to retreat. In the instant when the sky was torn apart, Su Yi suddenly saw Shangguan Juahu's figure like a phantom, rushing towards a remote corner of the Divine Tiger sect. Deng deng! Immediately, Su Yi's figure was like lightning as he chased after Shangguan Juahu. Just as Su Yi left, the sound of a large number of experts attacking resounded behind him, completely erupting into a crusade against the Divine Tiger sect. Clang! Countless attacks flew back and forth. Under the impact of the huge force, a huge crack appeared in the sky, and violent energy ripples bloomed like fireworks. Today, the Divine Tiger sect was quickly turned into a mottled ruin. At this time, Su Yi followed Shangguan Juahu's aura and arrived in front of a remote house of the Divine Tiger sect. Soaring through the void, Su Yi's cold eyes were filled with awe-inspiring dominance. He saw Shangguan Juahu kick a huge pillar away and pull a young man into his arms. The young man looked like Shangguan Shenjua. Pua! Shangguan Shenjua, who no longer had any cultivation, was naturally unable to withstand the destructive shockwave. At this time, his bones were shattered, and he was dripping with blood as he lay in Shangguan Juahu's arms. Shangguan Juahu's pupils shrank, and a line of tears flowed out of his eyes. He immediately looked in the direction of Su Yi. "Zhuer, how are you?" "Su Yi, you killed my Tianjua, crippled my Shenjua, and now you want to destroy my divine tiger sect. I don't care if I die, but I have one last request from you." A malicious gaze swept through Shangguan Juehu's pupils. Shangguan Juehu probably never thought that one day he would be forced to this point by a 20-year-old youth. "Father, you don't have to beg him." Shangguan Shenjua had already recognized Su Yi at this time. His bony hands pointed at Su Yi in the void, and his eyes were filled with resentment. Immediately, Shangguan Shenjua struggled in his father's arms, and fiercely looked at Su Yi and said, "Su Yi, you are so ruthless. I, Shangguan Shenjua, will not let you go even if I become a ghost. In my next life, and the life after that, I will kill you." Hearing this, the corners of Su Yi's mouth curled up slightly. If he really wanted to talk about it, he would not let anyone from the Divine Tiger sect go. This was because they had too much innocent blood on their hands. Su Yi's gaze slowly swept across below, and he looked coldly at Shangguan Juehu and said, "You want me to let Shangguan Shenjua go? Father, you don't have to beg him. I want to kill Su Yi. It is Su Yi who has ruined my life." Shangguan Shenjua suddenly roared crazily, and his face was ferocious. Shangguan Juehu pressed his hands on Shangguan Shenjua's head, and said in an incomparably solemn and low voice, "Shenjua, the Divine Tiger sect has suffered a calamity today, and I have nothing to say. Calm down." "Father." Shangguan Shenjua looked at Shangguan Juehu. His eyes were empty, and his physical strength was exhausted. Another mouthful of blood spurted out from his mouth. Without the protection of his cultivation, Shangguan Shenjua's injuries were too serious. "Shenjua, help me one last time. Tianjua cannot die in vain. You cannot be crippled in vain. If there is a next life, I will make sure that you are safe." Shangguan Juehu's face was filled with pain, and he looked at Shenjua with a sad face. He reluctantly placed his forehead on Shenjua's forehead. "Father, what did you say?" Shangguan Shenjua had a bad premonition, and his pupils suddenly shrank. As soon as he finished speaking, Shangguan Juehu's eyes suddenly became cold, and his heart became resolute. Chapter 23:33. In Shangguan Shenjua's eyes, his father, Juehu, pressed his palms together, and the crisp sound of bones cracking could be heard. Shangguan Shenjua had died on the spot. Boom! The change was so fast that it was unexpected. Su Yi squinted his eyes and a black shadow appeared in the sky. Shangguan Shenjua had already been thrown over like a weapon. A strong wind surged and a vast killing intent swept over crazily. Shangguan Juehu had used all of his Yuan domain cultivation for this move. Using his own son as a shield to buy time for himself to escape? What a ruthless person! Su Yi roared. He raised his eyebrows and threw out a punch. Fire elemental Yuan Qi surged around his body, and the shadow of an emperor's sparrow spread its wings and flew out. Boom! At this moment, the sky above the Divine Tiger sect trembled for no reason. The energy of heaven and earth fluctuated violently, and within the blazing space storm, Su Yi was pushed back by the shockwave. Within the flames, Su Yi's mouth was dripping with dark red blood. Shangguan Juehu had already turned into a rippling shadow and flew towards the huge space crack in the distance. Seeing Shangguan Shenjua being smashed into pieces, Shangguan Juehu quickly ran away. "Where do you think you're going?" Su Yi wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and quickly stood up. He adjusted his breathing and formed a hand seal in his hand again. The rising Yao's 100 transformation steps was pushed to the extreme, and he charged towards Shangguan Juehu. Clang! In the distance, 5 rays of light flashed like lightning and thunder. Heavenly might suddenly descended, and a vast pressure permeated the void. Thunder roared, and golden light shone resplendently. The dazzling light caused Shangguan Juehu to stop in his tracks, and his face was filled with shock. Taking a closer look, It turned out to be Xiahong House, Su Chun, Yen Lin, and Duguyuma surrounding Shangguanjuahu. As Su Yi approached, Lan Balian, who had participated in the battle, also arrived in an instant, leaving only Tunton to slaughter the remaining members of the Divine Tiger sect. The 6 of them surrounded Shangguanjuahu, and a violent energy surged out of each of their palms, aiming at Shangguanjuahu. "You're actually injured?" Xiahong Lu's eyes were filled with disbelief when she saw Su Yi arrive. Su Yi's face immediately turned ashen, and a cold smile appeared on his face. He looked at Shangguanjuahu and said, "Even a vicious tiger will not eat its cubs. You actually used your own son as bait. I admire you." As soon as he finished words, everyone's gazes and their gazes were filled with disdain and disdain. "Shun's Juahu's eyes. If I die, I cans will die. Die house's house and Luo he's. Even if he had to die, Shangguanjuahu did not want to leave his son here to be tortured by Su Yi. Instead of being tortured, it would be better for Shangguanjuahu to end it himself. There's Dao S's. Lan Xiaoyan spat angrily. She immediately looked at Su Yi and said, "This old fellow is full of lies. It's really disgusting. Just kill him." Su Yi slowly shook his head, and his eyes were filled with coldness. He looked at Shangguanjuahu and said angrily, "The heavenly Tao has its own reincarnation. The Divine Tiger clan will atone for the sins of the Tian Yao school." Bang! Suddenly, under Su Yi's command, 5 incomparably ferocious powers directly converged into a violent energy stream. Mysterious runes lingered around it, and wind and thunder rumbled. At this moment, a huge lightning beam fell from the heavens, and it struck Shangguanjuahu's body. Boom! At this moment, Shangguanjuahu no longer held back. His Yuan domain's cultivation surged out, and a vast halo of light protected his body. Shangguanjuahu's giant arms trembled. Facing the huge energy, he still wanted to make a final resistance. Chi! In less than 3 breaths of time, the silver-white arc of light distorted the space, and the astonishing destructive power finally broke through Shangguanjuahu's defense. In the last second, Shangguanjuahu's face was pale, and he looked at Su Yi with a ferocious expression. "You killed the people I love. I'll make you pay back 100 times in the future." Ha 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 ha! As the crazy laughter fell, the hair-raising sound disappeared instantly. The divine light traversed the sky, and the heavenly power was unparalleled. The destructive light beam pierced Shangguanjuahu's body. Shangguanjuahu did not have the slightest reaction. He turned into a rain of light, and there was not even a trace of blood. Endless power floated in the air, as if it was corroding everything. The space in front of the 6 people collapsed inch by inch, and it was as smooth as flat ground. Facing such a terrifying scene, the 6 people present felt as if a huge rock was pressing down on their hearts, and their souls trembled. "It's finally over." After a long while, Duguyuma's blue eyes rolled, and his suppressed heart began to beat again. At this moment, Lan Balian, Su Chun, Yen Lin, and the others in the Xiahong house came to their senses. It's over. The life of one of the top forces in the Heaven Barbarian world was ended just like that. A famous expert of the Heaven Barbarian world was turned into ashes under the joint attack of the 6 people. After a moment of silence, Su Yi lowered his head, and his gaze became more serious. He kept thinking about what Shangguanjuahu had said, and the ripples in his heart could not be calmed down for a long time. Before the destruction, what did Shangguanjuahu mean? What is the Long family's next move? The people he loved were Su Yi's reverse scale, and no one could violate it. What are you thinking? Su Yi. Shangguanjuahu is dead. Yes. 4th brother, we succeeded, and we should be happy. The Divine Tiger Sect. We destroyed the Divine Tiger Sect. Su Yi, aren't you happy that you got your revenge? Xiahong House, Su Chen, and Duguyuma looked at Su Yi. Seeing that he was not happy, but more serious, they could not help but feel puzzled. Let's go and see how Tun Tun is doing. Su Yi shook his head, looked at the crowd, and said softly. In a short period of time, the headquarters of the Divine Tiger sect was almost destroyed. When Su Yi returned to the sky above the palace, the supreme elders who were still struggling bitterly heard that their sect leader had died, and surrendered, crying bitterly on the spot. The Divine Tiger sect was in a mess, and it was not an exaggeration to say that it was a ruin. A large area of space exploded like a volcanic eruption, and the void collapsed inch by inch, causing everyone who saw it to be frightened. Looking at the corpses everywhere, Su Yi's heart suddenly became empty. Sect leader Su, the disciples of the Divine Tiger sect were almost annihilated. 1/3 of the disciples chose to surrender. Sikong Tsangxing reported the good news to Su Yi. However, the Divine Tiger sect has a large area and many branches. In the next few days, we have to finish the battle quickly and subdue all the branches to avoid the counterattack of the Divine Tiger sect. Mo Inu was also overjoyed, and the joy in her eyes was like a flower after the rain. In this battle, the biggest winners were the Taiching sect and Inu Palace. Chapter 23-34. When discussing the result of this battle with Su Yi, both Sikong Tsangxing and Mo Inu's eyes lit up. No one thought that there would be such an earth-shattering change tonight. Divine Tiger was killed, and Taiching was famous in Heaven Barbarian. This battle was resolved to their heart's content. The speed and strength of the attack far exceeded the imagination of everyone present. The King of Heaven's pride is invincible. The Divine Beast is invincible. The King of Chaos region is invincible in Heaven Barbarian. Today's achievement is led by Lord Su Yi. From now on, Taiching sect will see Su Yi as if they see me, Sikong Tsangxing. The sound waves swept through the world, and the hundreds of thousands of powerhouses present looked at Su Yi with fiery eyes. In the face of such an arrogant heavenly king, no one could imagine that Su Yi was only 20 years younger. Beside him, the 6 people of Killing Tiger all surrounded Su Yi. Behind him, the mysterious patterns of the swallowing desolation shocking beast lingered, and the sacred light overflowed. The terrifying pressure made everyone present feel a chill on their skin. Across the crowd, Sikong Tsangxing and Mo Inu looked excited. They looked at Su Yi with flushed faces and rushed to report the situation of the battle. Sikong Tsangxing's old eyes released a heroic and surprised expression that he had never seen before. Today's achievement must be a great stroke in his martial arts career. Lord Su, what about Shangguan Juahu? Mo Inu frowned and immediately looked at Su Yi nervously. Su Yi's gaze was a little lazy, and it could even be said that it was drifting. No matter how noisy the crowd was, Su Yi's heart was like stagnant water, without the slightest ripple. The dim and deep eyes slowly swept across the ruined Divine Tiger sect. The hundreds of powerhouses who were still alive had completely given up resistance. They collapsed on the ground in defeat, and their faces were ashen. Looking at these people, Su Yi took a deep breath and then slowly said, "Shangguan Juahu is dead. The people of Divine Tiger sect deserved it, and they can't be forgiven. Leave the remaining matters to sect leader Sikong and sect leader Mo." As soon as they heard the news of Shangguan Juahu's death, a tsunami of cheers erupted in the air. The sound waves shook the sky, and a crazy energy rippled through the air. Whoosh! In a split second, the surrounding Grand Clear martial artists and Rain Song Palace martial artists shot the vital chi in their hands into the sky. The star-like radiance pierced through the horizon, and Divine Tiger sect was once again as bright as day. Tonight, the Divine Tiger clan would not sleep. Tomorrow, the Heaven Berserkers would be swept away by a storm. How could a middle stream power and a second-rate power, that was second only to the Divine Tiger Sect, be able to exterminate the Divine Tiger Sect? This was a miracle of martial arts. How could the martial artists, who had always been suppressed by the Divine Tiger Sect, not be happy? A majestic pressure broke through the air, and a tyrannical gale formed a ferocious spatial storm above the ruins, blotting out the sky and emitting a dazzling light. "Let's go. Tun-tun." Sui, who had a calm expression on his face, instantly relaxed. The eyes of the desolation devouring heaven beast rippled slightly, and it suddenly sat up from the ground. Its huge body, which seemed to be connected to the void, slowly lifted Sui up. Standing on its palm, Suyi's eyes focused, and he coldly glanced at the horizon. He only saw 24 extremely terrifying auras in the distance gradually concealing themselves, and Sui knew that they were the experts from the Thunderfire Temple. The Divine Tiger Sect had not calmed down yet, and the experts from the temple still needed to stay for a few more days. "Master, where are we going?" Tun-Tun's voice was like thunder, and the moment it came out, it completely covered the sound waves present. "Anywhere, as long as it's in the Divine Tiger continent." Sui raised his head and glanced at Xiahong House, Suchen, and the others. For some reason, his heart was filled with bitterness, and he retracted his gaze without saying a word. "Roar!" Tun-Tun nodded in the air, and then let out a long roar, causing the broken space to instantly tremble. The low sound of the space exploding was like thunder piercing through the horizon, and it turned into a ray of divine lightning that shot into the distance. What happened to Sui? Lon Balian walked to Xiahong House's side. The 5 people looked at the back of the mountain-like figure in the distance, and they were all puzzled. The Divine Tiger Sect was destroyed. Shouldn't Fourth Brother be happy? Suchen frowned and said, "Fourth Brother." Yen Lin's narrow eyes were also filled with doubts, and he looked at Xiahong House in confusion. Slowly walking forward, only Dugyuma's blue eyes seemed to have found something different, and he said in a low voice, "Maybe Suyi's worries are related to the Tian Yao school that he mentioned." Suddenly, Xiahong House and Lon Balian remembered that Suyi's last sentence was to ask Shangguan Juahu to apologize to the Tian Yao school. Tian Yao school. Xiahong House's sword-like eyebrows drooped, and he seemed to have thought of something. He looked at Lon Balian and said anxiously, "I'll catch up with Sui. If there's anything, you guys deal with it." As soon as he finished speaking, Xiahong House's metal elemental energy swept out. He stepped on a stream of light, and like a long sword, he instantly cut through the sky and chased after Shangguan Juahu. Seeing that Sui had left, and the Holy Emperor had also left, the crowd's voices became much quieter. "Holy Emperor!" Sikong Tsangxing turned back from his excitement and shouted in the direction of Xiahong House, "You guys can't leave. This is only the headquarters of the Divine Tiger Sect. There are still many more branches waiting for us." Emoinu also rushed forward, looking flustered, and asked why Sui had left so quickly. "You guys deal with the rest. Sui will circle around the Divine Tiger continent for a few days. If there's anything, we'll know." Lon Balian didn't have time to explain, and the light under her feet disappeared. Suddenly, a few majestic auras shot into the sky, and Lon Balian, Duguyuma, and the others quickly chased after them. On the vast Divine Tiger continent, Tunton galloped recklessly, like a dragon crossing a river, unobstructed. In the deep blue night, blue-white lightning flashed around Tunton's body, and the fierce wind blew Suyi's black hair up high. At this moment, he gradually closed his eyes. The cold night wind circled around his ears, and waves of wild and ancient chi surged out. At this moment, Sui, the heavenly origin demon soul, and the spiritual sea were incomparably quiet. On Tunton's palm, Sui gradually sat down cross-legged, calming his heart and concentrating. Ever since he left the Sky Sea City, Sui had been chasing after the Divine Tiger Sect, and killing Hu Qi was his goal. However, after truly annihilating the Divine Tiger sect, Su Yi's heart was completely empty for the first time. Whether it was Shang Guanjuehu's last words or the loneliness after taking revenge, they all made Su Yi wonder how he could protect the people he loved the most. Shang Guanjuehu's last sentence had tugged at Su Yi's tightest heartstrings. Su Yi didn't dare to think about what had happened to the remaining people of the Tianyao school. Closing his eyes, Su Yi seemed to be talking to himself, and also to the Hunyuan Demon Emperor. He muttered, "If I were the Hunyuan Demon Emperor, then as the realm of the gods, what kind of answer would you give me?" Rumble! Against the cold and damp night wind, Su Yi's body gradually rippled with a string of mysterious runes. Energy rippled out like a tide, and Tuntin sensed something strange, and its huge eyes trembled. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.